happened.
It's great.
He didn't hear it though.
No, he didn't. No,
because it played before the video. No. This is a bit.
And I think it's time to retire it. But welcome back to Not My Fantasy. I said it right this time. The podcast where we watch and discuss the lore behind some of our favorite and least favorite fantasy films. I'm Cullen.
And I'm Hannah. I almost said I'm Melissa. Just for fun.
And we have both our first guests of the podcast and now our first repeat guest.
Oh, I love this. You know I love the attention.
Yes.
You do. We have Taylor Zaccario of Obscure Obsessions.
I've never heard Cullen call me by my
your
real
God-given name.
That other name.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me back again.
Yes.
Of course, you said you had some things you wanted to promote. So
we're top of the episode. Go ahead.
You know, I said to Hannah how much fun I had on the show last time when we talked about the Black Cauldron. And Hannah, the pain in the keister that she is, focused in on when I said, and I also have some things I would love to promote. But Hannah forgets the part where I say how much fun I had. But I did have fun, and I'm excited to be back. I'm even more excited to be your first returning guest. I love that.
Yeah, we'll have to send you a little award or something.
I don't know. I don't want that.
You sure?
Well, depends on what's in the shape of.
It's in the shape of one of the triplets. From this movie.
Those were I did text you. Those were my three favorite obscure characters in that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things though that you're promoting over?
Yeah, what do you got going on at Obscure Obsessions?
Well, we're preparing our third season. And by preparing, I mean, I sit there and talk and my cousin does everything else. So that'll come out sometime in, I believe, April or June. No, April or May. I forgot a month. And in the meantime, we're having a series. Oh, wait, I wrote it down so I could say it exactly correct.
Is it the mini Obsessions?
Yes, we have the mini. We're currently working on I wrote this. But in the meantime, we have a series of mini episodes that are like 20 minutes each, where my cousin and I each recommend a different obscure movie to the other, ones that wouldn't necessarily get a full run. But so it's every other week, 20 minutes. I recommend one, Nicholas recommends one, and that'll be until we premiere for our full season in season 3, somewhere in June, I think. April, May, June. And that's all I have to really say about that. Mini Obsessions, Obscure Obsessions. Go to what's that thing called? Instagram at Obscure Podcast, and you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever the hell people listen to podcasts at.
Is there another place you can hop on? I mean, there's so many places you can listen to podcasts, but you got the main ones.
Spotify.
I usually
mini obsessions. The mini obsessions are every other week. So so you can enjoy that. And if you see me looking over there, it's because I'm watching an episode of Love Boat where both Betty White and B. Arthur appear. They are not in the same scene together, but I'm going to glance every once in a while just to see if I see them on screen.
We're not entertaining enough. I thought you were going to say that you were watching Beauty and the Beast because you had watched Black Cauldron while we were talking.
That's true. I did. I kept it as a reference. This I've seen so many times.
Interesting.
This is one of my favorites for a long time.
Okay.
Cullen, do you like the Christmas one?
I saw it as a child when my brother was in the hospital. And so I was at a friend's house watching it. I don't really like any of the Beauty and the Beast sequels. I think the Christmas one is like okay, but I think it also really fundamentally misunderstands Belle and the Beast's relationship.
Yeah, it's kind of limp, but I like the villain in that, which is Tim Curry as an evil piano.
Yeah, an evil giant gay piano
organ. Yeah, he's a big
organ. Yeah, that is.
He's a dick. He's an organ.
You know what, Hannah? That kind of humor I don't find funny, and that's what she said.
You do.
Yeah, today I'm in Belle's Village. And I'm wearing my Disney princess hoodie. Belle's at the bottom. There, she's reading.
Where she
There she is.
belongs.
No, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's got Belle, Snow White, Cinderella,
Tiana's there. I
Aurora,
see her.
Tiana, Jasmine, Ariel. To the core.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm in the ballroom. You can see the lovely chandelier, which is not a cognizant being that I know of.
No.
I don't remember it swaying around or anything, threatening to fall
That's a very good point.
Listen, I have a lot of questions. Why are the curtains not actual people? What happens when the plates and the flatware turn back into people? Do they have to replace all their plates and flatware?
But what were they to turn into plates? Were they the waiters?
You know what the directors
That's a lot of waiters, though.
The directors of the movie said in the audio commentary?
They're like, shut up, it's just a movie.
Yes, basically. They said it's a magic castle. Not every object has a human equivalent. Some things just like the plates dance because they're magic.
Right.
Okay.
I get it. Yeah, because I mean, like, what would a curtain be? Like, as a human equivalent? There's really none.
We did talk about in La Belle and la Bête how the sheets moved. And we're like, in Beauty and the Beast, that'd be like the creepy, like, ballet that got turned into sheets. And Lumiere and Hogwarts like stuffed in a trunk because like we don't want to deal with him.
Yeah. And then someone gets stuffed into a trunk during the
I'm
fight
like,
scene.
That's
I saw
the
that.
ballet.
I was like,
that's the ballet. Yeah.
Good reference, Cullen.
So yeah, if you haven't guessed, we're talking about Disney's Beauty and the Beast from 1991. I say
it predates all of us, right?
No.
How old are you, T?
What year?
91?
What year? What month did it come out?
I want to say Disney movies usually come out in November.
Yeah, then I was alive.
Yeah.
Barely.
Barely.
When was it released?
It was released
September.
November. Oh, September. I see November 22nd, 1991.
Oh yeah, November 22nd. My sister saw this movie in theaters.
It premiered at the New York Film Festival in September.
I was barely a human being at that point, so
right.
So I was technically alive.
Technically. Okay, something that was crazy to me. Today we finished watching Aladdin because we started it the other day, and then we also were like, let's watch King of Thieves because that's like one of the best sequels. Love it. Jerry Orbach plays one of the villains, the villain, yes, in that movie. And I was like, I had no idea. And then, of course, he plays Lumiere. And
Broadway legend.
Welcome to the 20th century, Hannah.
I guess I just never really, I only see Jerry Orbach as Dad from Dirty Dancing. And then also, I don't remember his character's name in Law & Order, but in Law & Order. And so I was just like, there's this whole other Jerry Orbach that I don't even know about. And I find that beautiful.
Yeah, that's exciting. I like that one
Jerry
too,
Orbach.
actually.
I had a coworker who was obsessed with musicals, and they were listening to. They mentioned Jerry Orbach. I'm like, oh yeah, he played the Candlestick in Beauty and the Beast. And they're like, oh, I don't do Disney. I don't watch this Disney. And I'm like, that's not a deep cut, okay? No. There's a candlestick in Beauty and the Beast. Oh my god,
it looks like Jerry Orbach, like a young Jerry Orbach.
But yeah, this movie raised me. And kind of my family. We quote, and I think of quotes from this movie all the time, like even weird ones, like when Lumiere is like, then again, maybe not. It hits my brain regularly. Probably as influential on me as the Bible. I think that's fair.
Wow, the Bible, truly honored to share a spot in your life.
I'd say this, if the last one was part of the Criterion collection, La Belle and la Bête, this is the part of the Cullen Criterion. I think everyone needs to watch this movie. I forced my friend to watch it on a road trip in high school because he didn't have any sisters. So he never saw any movies like this. That was always his excuse. And I was like, you need to see one. And he picked this one. And then I think it was like the Mob song is when we got home. And so I was like, take the DVD home because I own this on DVD. And I was like, finish the movie. And he was like, yeah, it was good. And I'm like, see? It's good. And I did I said a report like I was in 5th grade. I did like a presentation on this.
Book report in grad school.
In grad school. I did a presentation because it's the first animated film with a script.
Wow, that's right.
Yeah. You know who the scriptwriter was?
Linda Wolverton.
Linda Wolverton.
Hello,
Later
you're
did-
looking at someone who believes that this movie is as good as the Bible in terms of raising him.
I was just
Of course
testing
he
to
knows
see.
who wrote it.
Just
She's
testing.
written a lot of really great
She has,
things.
she has.
Some things I like more than others, but that's every writer's career, right? And so what I love is I feel like a lot, like if the first script had been written by a man and later on like a woman wrote one, it'd be like, this is the first one written by a woman. But like right off the gate, the first time I had a script, started with a woman, and you can tell. I said we're gonna track the girls and the gays on this, the influence on Beauty and the Beast. It's thriving. But what are your guys' experience with this film before I get into the background?
You go first. You're the guest.
Well, as I said, I was a wee infant at the time when it came out. I know I owned it on VHS, and in fact, I have a very, if I were to put it onto eBay, it would go for like a couple $100 because it was some kind of special. They were called the Diamond Edition. It has a diamond on the side,
Oh yeah.
and it was the very first one. I have it in my basement, and I watched it all the time. It was in my rotation with other great Disney ones like Aladdin and the Black Cauldron and all those. And I, as you guys know, I go to Disney World once a year. At least I used to before the world got a little crazy. I went every single year. Crazier. And it's one of my favorites. I watched all the sequels. As Cullen rightfully said, none of them ever really were nearly as good as. In fact, I have
Thieves.
No, and I have the DVD. One DVD I have of it. They included the song "Human" again.
Yeah.
Which
they did it on my DVD.
Yeah, which they added in, which I never really liked because it changed the whole thing of it. I'm sure Cullen knows more about the "Human" again thing than I do, but that I didn't like. But I have it on Blu-ray. I love it, and I'm a fairly Gaston-like figure, wouldn't you say? And it's one of my favorite ones, and I watch it probably once a year.
Are you wearing a Disney Plus hat?
Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Or Disney Day. Okay.
No, this is my
Disney Plus Day.
This hat. Speaking of Beauty and the Beast, I did watch it on Disney Plus yesterday because
Isn't that like the only place you can watch it?
Well, I have it on DVD. Were you just listening to what I was saying to you?
No.
This is a Disney Plus hat that my cousin Megan bought for me. That was she was working at Disney World at the time, and she got it somewhere in the cast something or other, and I wear it proudly upon my brow whenever I talk about Disney movies. I got to put it right on, otherwise I can't talk about it. So
it's your thinking cap.
It's my thinking cap. This is my thinking cap. How about you, Hannah? What ridiculous story you're going to tell Cullen how you never watched this movie, how you don't know anything about this movie, how you found it, how it represents everything.
It's my obscure obsession.
Oh my God.
I know I've seen this movie as a child, but I didn't really remember anything. I remember this scene that is behind me, the dancing in the ballroom, Beauty and the Beast, that song. I remember Be Our Guest, but that's kind of it. I didn't really remember anything about Gaston. I watched it in full, to me, for the first time as a cognizant person when I was in college. I was like a junior in college, and it was on TV. I was with some family, and they're like, let's just watch it. I'm like, okay. So I watched it, and I didn't love it. And I watched it today, and I didn't love it.
Every time I talk to Hannah, years of my life get shaved off and off and off.
Oh, well, you know what? You don't need them anyway, right? I don't know why I didn't love this movie. I think this was a lot better than the 40s version that we watch in terms of them falling in love. And I believe that more. But Gaston was just unbearable to watch. The townspeople were just unbearable people. It's kind of how I feel about this is another controversial potentially. I don't like Mamma Mia because I don't like the townspeople in the movie. I find them very grating.
Hannah hates townspeople. You're
I
hurt.
don't like townspeople. I don't like this provincial life either, Belle. Let's get out of here. But I also,
God.
I think my favorite part about the movie was the magic castle and the, Lumiere and Cogsworth and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really care about Belle or the Beast.
So you hate Cullen's Bible, is what you're saying to us.
I just think it's just not for me. I don't know.
Well, that might be a spoiler for the end. Let's see if we can. Let's see if we can convince you.
God.
So this film was
Trust
directed
me,
by...
I feel really bad about this.
You should.
Because
You
this
should,
is
yeah.
yes. No, because it's a good movie. That's the other thing. It's like I'm not gonna say it's not a good movie. I just
All right, well, that's at least something.
I
Yeah.
just
You know what? That might be. This is a hot take, but I don't really ever want to cover this movie on the podcast. I don't really care for The Lion King. I know that's a hot take. A lot of people
Interesting.
love The Lion King. I would,
Yeah.
as a kid, I'd always be like, yeah, I like this movie, and then put it on and be like, oh God, I'm so bored.
yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but
Because that's based off of like Shakespeare.
yeah, but I like Shakespeare, but I'm like,
Okay.
maybe I just,
Not with lions.
I related to a girl wanting to escape her small town as a toddler, I guess, but not as a kid sing about how he wants his dad to die someday.
Yeah, you're right. That's what that song is about.
I don't think I don't think he's connected those dots, but
I think also, and when we go into talking about we'll talk about Cinderella eventually. I also don't, spoiler for that, I don't really care for Cinderella. I think I don't like those kind of princess movies. I think I prefer Aladdin, Mulan, Pocahontas. I don't know what it is. I like those movies better.
The only criticism of this movie that I've heard that I've been like, that's fair. Someone described it as very white. And I do think that's true.
That's true.
Style and sensibility, it's Caucasian, but
what time period is this supposed to be?
I think it's vague. And I think that's
Yeah.
chosen and that's smart. I would say between the 1700s and 1800s ish,
Okay.
like France.
Yeah, because Cullen was like, "Where's all the revolutionaries?" And I was like, "They're in Paris, duh."
That's true.
And in the script, in Linda Woolverton's script, the prince was described as a duke. They changed it to prince probably because kids don't know what dukes are, I'm guessing. But
well, yeah, I'm an adult. I don't know what a duke does.
They run their duchy. So the film was directed by Gary Trousdale and Kirk Wise in their featured directorial debuts, and produced by Don Hahn from a screenplay by Linda Woolverton. They were originally making a non-musical, like more historical version, and then they were like, "This is not working," and they scrapped that, started this. Especially after the success of The Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid, yeah. I was like, that would have been a bad oof.
No. It was the first Disney movie with a screenplay, the 30th overall. Music and lyrics by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. Howard Ashman died of AIDS during the production of the film.
Oh.
He's a genius. He's, I think, why Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid are so good.
Have you seen the documentary about him that's on Disney Plus?
Not yet, no.
Oh.
That's very, very good about him and his career and his work and his AIDS and all that stuff toward the end of his life. Very, very good.
Just his attention to detail, his clever lyrics. And, if we're talking about like queer coding, we'll get to this more in The Little Mermaid, but this movie has the element of like, this is how like decent people are rejected by society, often based on like appearance or not fitting in, so he came up with ideas like we should have these talking objects. Like he brought so much life to these films. He died before it was released. But when they had the screening and it went really well, they were like, who would have thought this movie would be so well received? And he was like, I would have. Most successful Disney movie of the time, truly iconic, nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and 1 for Best Score and Best Original Song, Beauty and the Beast. I think it lost Best Picture to Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, I mean, Silence of the Lambs is a pretty good film.
It's a pretty good movie, but
what did they have at the time best picture
animated?
Best animated yet?
No,
or this predates that.
This predates that. And this was back when they only nominated like 5 movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. At the Golden Globes, it won Best Song and Score, as well as Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. It won 5 Grammys.
Makes sense.
And Belle is an official Disney princess. She is an icon to brunettes, nerds, readers, English teachers, horse girls, pick-me's, hipsters, chuggy MLMers, white feminists, and women married to mid-men everywhere.
What's a horse girl? What does that mean, horse
A
girl?
girl who loves horses.
You've
Oh,
seen
okay.
Lord of the Rings. Aragorn.
Oh, okay.
Aragorn's
Okay.
a horse girl.
Aragorn?
What was I gonna say?
That's the thing with a Disney princess comes with so much baggage beyond her movie sometimes.
Yes. Actually, speaking of that, she does kind of, and I say reek in not necessarily a negative sense, but she does feel like that 90s girl power feminism, which is really interesting to watch now because it's not quite like that anymore. Actually, it's not really at all like that anymore. Although I feel like it's having a little bit of a resurgence. But anyway, yeah, and so I feel like maybe that's one reason why I don't really connect with it is because I see that.
Yeah,
Like
because you're coming at it from now.
And yes. And I feel like if before I had my feminist education, maybe I would have been like, I wouldn't, well, it's because I have a hard time watching movies just to watch them. I'm always seeing things from different lenses, and that's probably not good.
Well, the thing with Belle is that she was the first Disney princess written by a woman. You know, and I think that's, you can tell. And I think, and I like the ones that came before, but you can tell with Belle, and it was before Mulan. It was before, you know, that was like a more like common trope in kids animated films. So like she was a huge like step. I was just thinking about the roles Disney princesses play in the climax of their films, and she's pretty actively involved. So yeah, and I met her twice. She's very lovely and humble. She wears her fame well.
You met Belle?
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, wait, what? Yes, of course.
Yeah,
of course
she asked if I wanted to send a video of her to my ex-girlfriend at the time because I was collecting signatures for her. Because it was a college trip and my girlfriend had graduated, so she couldn't go. And then the other time we asked her favorite book, and she said Romeo and Juliet. But yeah, she's every time she's always wearing her like peasant dress, like she's just relaxing, you know, down to earth.
Did you meet her in her peasant dress or in the
peasant dress?
This one. Okay.
Yeah, she's just, you know.
So she is super down to earth.
Yeah, she's no Kim Kardashian.
What do you mean the actual character you interacted with, or the person who did the voice of it?
Actual Belle.
Actual Belle.
Belle.
What the hell are you talking about?
T, you've been to Disney World. You know there are princesses there.
Like, let me do my fucking bit.
Listen, I met Pluto and Goofy when I was a child. I remember being terrified, but I remember there's a photo of me. So
then I've met Belle also.
Yeah, I think
there you go.
Yeah.
I probably
It was
did.
nice to me. I met Prince John from the Robin Hood movie too. He took a photo with me.
Okay.
Hannah probably hates that movie too.
I've actually never seen it.
Well, that'll probably change at some point. We'll get to Robin Hood someday. There's so many Robin Hoods. Fuck.
Yes, there are. Can we watch Men in Tights? I haven't seen that one in a while.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was thinking like, what are the Robin Hood, like the must-watch Robin Hoods the other day?
That one, and
Kevin Costner, Errol Flynn.
What
That's
one's
my
that called?
favorite.
Is it Robin Hood? Is this Robin Hood?
Which one? Kevin Costner?
Prince of Thieves.
Prince of Thieves. That came out the same year as this movie.
Oh.
Yeah, and I remember reading for another paper in grad school how the Errol Flynn movie in the 30s and 40s, I might have mentioned this on the podcast before, is like more feminist than the one that came out in the 90s.
Really?
If you look at how the characters interact in the story, not how they dress or how they're displayed, but the roles the female characters play in the story.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because Errol Flynn was a dirty, dirty bird.
He was not a great guy. No.
He was very dirty. He was very
my brother he knows I like that movie. He almost bought me a biography about Errol Flynn. And he said he opened the first pages and it was about him like raping someone. He was like, nah.
He had a house that he had secret walls in. He could look through peepholes and check people out. He was a dirty bird.
Nice guy.
Yeah, dirty bird. So Hannah will never watch it now, but
no, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But you know what? You can watch movies with Brad Pitt who tried to choke his kid on a plane. So
yeah.
Yeah. Can't wait to talk about Troy.
Oh, I have opinions. All right.
Love
So
that movie.
Disneyland and Magic Kingdom both have Beauty and the Beast restaurants. The Disneyland one
I
is just a little cottage.
I ate at the one at Disney World.
I have two. I ate in the
Yeah.
ball. No, I ate in Belle's Nook where it has like all the different pictures of her and the Beast, but there's also the ballroom in the West Wing.
And I ate at and I had the gray stuff, and it was delicious. That
No.
stuff that they
What is that?
serve in the
What
it's
is
some
it? Isn't
kind
it
of
like duck liver that's been like shredded or something? Or
no,
made
well, maybe in real life, but in the restaurant, it was I think a dessert.
Yeah, it's a dessert, like
Yes.
some kind of mousse.
Oh my God, it's like an Oreo pudding mousse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the actual gray stuff IRL is some sort of thing. I think it's like I think it's like duck
like foie
liver.
gras.
No.
Foie gras.
Maybe I'm getting this mixed up.
You
I don't
are.
know. But
Because
I know
foie gras
that
is duck liver.
it's something that is like I don't think it's a dessert. I think it's like a savory thing.
So
There you go.
Tokyo Disneyland coming back again. Second time we brought it up, second time we had tea. So they have a new ride. It's this big, they have the big castle because at Disney World you can see the castle from far away. It's supposed to be forced perspective, but it's not their best use of forced perspective. But at Tokyo Disneyland, they have the whole castle, and you like walk in, and there's a ride with like animatronics that does like the songs, and you like interact with the songs. And
I don't like
yeah.
animatronics.
I know, but I do. So
Me too, Hannah. You know what?
Do you know the last time I was at Disney was I was like 8 or 9.
Which Disney?
I had not been
World.
to any
I've never
Disney
been Disneyland.
when I was 8 or 9. First time I went to a Disney, I was 15.
We only went twice when I was a kid. And then no. It wasn't a happy life after that, I guess. No, I think we got too poor, and
yeah, that's why I didn't go till I was.
Not just that, but also prices went up.
Prices
went
yes, they
well,
did.
that's.
They
I mean, right
did.
now Disneyland's crazy expensive, and like the
so
quality
Disney
I
World.
hear is going
Disney
down.
World,
Yeah.
they like they're. Why are we talking about this? But anyway, I remember my friends that I lived with because they were cast members at Disney World before. And so like they're very big into Disney, and they had like the annual passes.
Yeah.
And like right after the pandemic sort of slowed down and they were starting to let people back in, they really like axed that whole pass program.
Yeah.
And it was like you have to pay $8 million and you might get into the park on a day you want to go.
Yeah, it's gotten it got pretty bad under Che Pass.
But at least I get free bumper stickers.
Yeah.
Or bumper magnets.
But they're hoping Iger saves the parks because it's been rough.
Iger's back. He's back, baby.
Daddy capitalism. But let's talk about something that predates that.
Capitalism?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
we are. Yeah. So last episode, we talked about the Beaumont and Villeneuve versions of La Belle and the Bête, Beauty and the Beast. All that fairy lore, and we talked about Summer Garden and Winter Garden by the Brothers Grimm. So this very standard, like this is Beauty and the Beast. But as I said, it goes back to like the Bronze Age, this story. So we're going to talk about Cupid and Psyche, which is kind of the genesis of this story in Western literature. This story is only really super referenced in Metamorphoses, also called The Golden Ass. Written in the 2nd century by Platonic philosopher Lucius Appius Mudderinius. I did take Latin in high school, but I probably did that wrong. But there are some, as in Wikipedia, so I have not verified this, say it appeared in art earlier. So it might have been an older story. Some people do say he made it up, though. So it could be as old as 2,405 years before the release of Chicken Little.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's pretty old. Yeah.
That's really old.
So it's in this novel about a man who's turned into a donkey. And while captured by brigands, he sees a young, rich maiden who is kidnapped on her wedding day. They kill her husband and kidnap her for ransom. And they're telling her they're not going to assault her, but it's implied that they might. And this old woman there is so annoyed with her crying that she tells her this story.
Okay.
So it's
That's
a
an interesting
story
way to
within a
begin.
story. Yeah.
And this framing device has a purpose?
No, I mean,
Great.
I did not. I listened to the original version on audiobook. I did not listen to the whole Golden Ass book. I just listened to this.
I love that title though. I
Yeah.
don't know why Disney didn't go with that.
That's why the ballroom's golden. It's a
Yeah,
homage.
okay.
That's a reference, clearly.
Yeah. So I tried to modernize and adapt this story in grad school, like a Clueless style.
Mm-hmm.
And the professor told me I should continue doing it, but I did. But maybe
Was
I'll go
it
back.
first semester, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, in Rose's class. I was
Yes.
there.
you were there. For
I
that.
wasn't there. I didn't get to see this one.
No, you weren't. It's okay.
I was
though.
off.
You weren't a rosebud.
No, I wasn't. I
You were a
was.
little Debbie.
A little.
Oh wow, now that's a
That's a
flashback.
deep cut. Yeah, I'm sure our listeners will appreciate that.
They'll be like, "What the fuck are they talking about? Citizen Kane?
So it
Snack cakes?"
No, I want one. So it starts a lot of the story in literature, not only kind of established Beauty and the Beast in the Western canon, but it started a lot of fairy tale tropes. Some people call it the first fairy tale. It's like the bridge between mythology and fairy tales. So like while you see a beautiful princess in Greek mythology, before you have like Helen of Troy in the Iliad, you have Andromeda, who Perseus rescues from the sea monster. They're not characters. We don't know how Helen of Troy feels, except for a few lines here or there about all the stuff that's happening that's allegedly all about her. In the Irish version, the war's over a cow, and that cow gets as much screen time as Helen of Troy does, you know? Screen time is a great way to refer to an ancient epic. But like, we don't know. So, but I want to be careful because this story is not like some feminist epic, but Psyche is a narrative shift where the beautiful princess is now our POV character, our protagonist. This really rarely happened for women in Greek mythology, but especially like the beautiful princess trope, which is so ingrained now. But like this was the first time it's like she's our main character. She's not a prize for the hero. This is her story. And so it's like we're supposed to care about her feelings. Like we're not supposed, the Iliad doesn't expect us to give a shit about what Helen thinks. We're supposed to care about Psyche. And that's one of the core differences, I think, between the ethos of a myth or a fairy tale, especially if we're referring to like Western Europe and like the classical mythology, is characters like Cinderella and Snow White. While they may not again be like girl boss feminist characters, you're supposed to root for their happiness because you're just supposed to care about them. They're not empathy isn't only reserved for men in the fairy tale genre, as it often is, not entirely, but it often is in mythology. Like you might know how a goddess feels, but you probably won't know how just a human woman feels. Sometimes this isn't a universal thing, but I think that is a key switch in the genre and why fairy tales has such strong female influence and are kind of a feminist form of literature, which is weird because now they've kind of become the symbol of patriarchy. And I honestly think that's because it's easier to make a BuzzFeed article deconstructing them than to deconstruct like capitalism and all these other oppressive systems that have much more influence and power in like hurting the lives of real people and women than a fairy tale. But it's easier it's always easier just to pick on Cinderella than to deconstruct the 40-hour work week, you know? So yeah, listening to the original version of the story, because I'd only ever heard retellings like the one in Bullfinch's mythology, which I brought today.
Well, that's a nice looking book though.
Yeah,
it's gold. It's shiny.
Yeah, like the golden ass.
It's the golden ass.
Yeah. But I was like, wow, yeah, this is very sexist when listening to the original version, but you know, ancient Rome very famously did not like women to have rights. We've talked about this before. That's why the Renaissance people are like, oh, why did we give women rights? And this story starts with a beautiful princess named Psyche. She's considered so beautiful that people worship her instead of Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. Tithera and Paphos, her island temples, are empty. I've spoken highly of Venus on this podcast before, but she's not so great in this story. Life. Yes. she's not great in the story. Sorry, girly pop. So Venus is so mad that people are worshiping this human girl instead of her, which is fair because like what can Psyche do to help them find love? And so she's so mad, she calls her son Cupid, who you may think of as like a pudgy boy. But in mythology times, he was often seen as like a sexy teen young adult man with wings. So somewhere between like 16 and 25, you know. She's like, okay, make Psyche fall in love with a monster, but also use your powers to make the monster not love her back. So like that'll be embarrassing. But then and then so she huffs off to go to like a spa retreat in the sea. So he goes to do that, and in many versions he accidentally pricks himself with the arrow, and that causes him to fall in love with her. So
Been there.
Yeah, happened. We've all been struck by Cupid. So like meanwhile, Psyche's sisters get married to kings, but she's lonely because people worship her, but they don't talk to her. They don't want to know her. They put her on a pedestal, quite literally. So she's not getting married, you know, which is in this time was like her aspiration, like her goal, you know, but so she's just also just as a person, like no one's connecting with her. Like she's alone. And so the king is like, well, this is weird. So he consults the oracle. And it's the Oracle of Delphi says Psyche is destined to marry a monster so powerful even the gods fear him. And they say that Cupid begged Apollo, the god of the Oracle, to maybe slip that prophecy in. They dress Psyche for their funeral, for her wedding to this monster, and they take her to this cliff, like the oracle said, and they're weeping. And Psyche is like, "You didn't weep for me when I was alone and sad. You worship me instead of a goddess. Like you caused this problem. Like don't weep for me now. You didn't weep when I was all alone. Like it's better to just be over now." I'm gonna say Psyche needs a therapist. Has pretty severe depression, as we will see throughout this story. Even beautiful people have feelings. Hot take. as one of the beautifuls, I can tell you. And so yeah, she's like, y'all, we're doing a blasphemy. So at this funeral wedding, Zephyr, the west wind, picks her up and takes her to this beautiful palace, and they describe it in detail, and it's so fancy only a god could live there. And she's waited on by invisible servants. She's dressed and bathed and listening to music. She's fed rich food and wine, and then they send her to bed to wait for her husband. It describes
the
her,
sheets tuck her in.
the sheets are great. It describes her shaking in her bed with fear for the marital act that is coming.
Oof.
Yeah,
That's not a good sign.
Yeah,
That's actually what happened when Hannah and I slept together in the same bed. I was quivering,
shaking for fear
of the marital act.
I was passed out. I was so drunk. Anyway, but I had already paid for the pizza, so anyone could have eaten it, but they didn't.
I wasn't there. Would you all know if I was there? I would have eaten the pizza.
Yeah, I took one bite, put it back down, and passed out in the bed.
So her husband visits her and talks to her sweetly, and they make love. And he does this every night, but she never sees him. She has sex with someone that she never sees. But he has a sweet voice, and I guess he's good at it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess he's got a bomb dick too. Like,
yeah,
Hannah.
We're marked explicit. So she's happy. She's also pregnant. And she misses her family, and so she's like, you know, my sisters are like weeping for me. Like, could you like have them come visit me so they know I'm not dead? And he's like, don't listen to anything they say. They will give you evil ideas, pernicious thoughts against us, and they'll ruin our life and turn you against me.
Wow.
I'm gonna say Toxic by Britney Spears.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, this is where if we're not having the Stockholm Syndrome conversation, which even if this was a toxic relationship, I don't think it would qualify as Stockholm Syndrome. But the whole thing of like the man trying to control who she interacts with.
Right.
And that really slowly, and this movie I think is key, but that slowly kind of drips and drains away from the Beauty and the Beast story as society
Right.
moves on. I'm like, thank God. So her sister's visit, picked up by Zephyr, and she's like, yeah, my husband, he's like a young, hot, like country boy, and he's like hunting right now. He's in camo. And they're jealous of how rich he is, and how rich she is, and they're like, we need to ruin this for her.
Oh God.
Yeah,
That
jealous
sounds
sisters.
familiar.
Yeah, familiar to last week.
Last week.
And so when they leave, she's like, I want them to come back, and Cupid's like, but don't listen to them. And when Zephyr takes them back, they catch her lying because they're like, where's your husband again? And she's like, oh yeah, he's like a rich older sugar daddy on a business trip to Miami. And they're like, I thought he was one of the Waltons. I thought he was a country boy. So they're like, take a knife and a lamp because we definitely heard that your husband is an evil serpent. Everyone's talking about it. We heard it on Reddit. We heard it on Wendy Williams. It's in a BuzzFeed listicle on Facebook. Everyone is talking about how this snake is ready to eat you and your baby. So she's like, oh, fuck. Okay, Wendy Williams said it. And so she's making a plan to do this. So when the night falls, she's ready with her knife and her lamp, and she puts the lamp over him, and she's like, he's actually a super hot, sexy god. He has beautiful wings. He's got a sexy body. He's got beautiful curls. He's the god of love. No wonder that dick was so good. No
Yeah,
wonder
there
he's
you
so good in
go.
bed.
Cullen.
You know, she's like, I have the jackpot. I'm married to the god, literally the god of sex.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, but the lamp is like, damn, he's hot. The lamp jumps off, like the oil from the lamp wants to be near him. So it jumps off and lands on him. And he's like, ow. And he wakes up and he sees her holding a knife. And he's like, and he like silently betrayed and like flies off. And she grabs his foot and he like drags her up into the sky. And eventually he lets her down. And he's like, I can't, like, there's no love without trust. I'm hashtag betrayed. And even though like he really hasn't been honest with her at all, so like why should she trust him? I'll just say that. But he flies off and she's like weeping. And then she's like, I'm so fucked. But meanwhile, Pan, the god of nature, he's a satyr, kind of like Phil in Hercules.
Love Phil.
Yeah, or Mr. Tumnus.
Mr.
In
Thomas.
Chronicles of Narnia. So
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth. So he's banging a nymph nearby. And he hears her weeping.
Wait, say that again one time.
He's banging a nymph nearby.
Oh, okay.
Okay, he's giving her that good dick.
Yeah, and so they go dick. And then he hears her and is like, hey, just like go, like, he's a mama's boy. Go pray to his mom. Like, go make amends with her and it'll be fine. So meanwhile, it's time to meet the biggest bitch in this story. A bird.
It's not Venus.
It's not. It is this gossipy bird, and I didn't
kind
even
of
think
bird?
about the fact that he hates birds.
Don't get you. No too many details.
I
Can't
think
too
it's
many
a
details.
seagull.
Oh, no, I
Potentially.
don't like seagulls.
No.
Exactly. So
Seagulls are number 7 on my list of least favorite birds.
Really?
When
I
attacked,
thought they were
yeah.
higher.
No. Re-listen to the
What?
documentary about me.
Wait, what's numbers 1 through 3?
Geese.
Pigeons?
No.
Geese.
Geese.
obviously one.
Swans.
Turkeys.
Oh, I mean, those are 3.
And then the
places.
emu or the ostrich, I think.
Well, that one's really far away.
A seagull once defecated on my co-host's head when he was about 12 when we were at the Jersey Shore.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have been at the Jersey Shore.
First mistake. Yeah.
That bird was trying to save you guys.
Was that a message?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this bird is like, hey, all love, and the bird's right in that all sexual, romantic, familial, friendship, love is actually suffering because Venus is on a spa vacation and Cupid is now nursing his wound. So no one's looking after love and no one's feeling it anymore.
Been there too.
No one's in the mood. No one just wants to even hang out with their friends. Everyone's sad. So the bird is like, yeah, everyone's like talking shit about you, Venus, because you ditched your job And people are talking shit about your son. And did you know your son shacked up with someone? Not just someone, a human, not just any human, the girl that everyone worshipped instead of you. He did that to you. And you're just busy at the ocean. Also, she's pregnant with your grandchild. And people think you and love and everything is just a joke. And Venus is like, shut the fuck up. I'm going to Olympus. So she gets there and she sees her son like weeping over his little burn, and she's like, you little ungrateful bitch. It's normal of teens to fuck around, but you fucked around with her. Uh at my birthday dinner.
For me, a gift,
My birthday.
my birthday party with a birthday gift.
She's like, I used to curl your hair. I gave you so much power. Your dad didn't give you shit. I'm a single mom who works 2 jobs, who loves her kids and never stops, with gentle hands and the heart of a fire. I'm Aphrodite. 2 jobs, goddess of love, goddess of beauty. So she's like,
checks out. I think Reba would approve.
Yeah. She's like, if you betray me again, I will destroy your arrows. I will rip out your wings. Or worse, you know what? I'll give them to one of your brothers.
Oof.
Go to your room.
Because it's fine for my Xboxes anyway.
Meanwhile, Psyche's gotten some revenge. She's went to visit each of her sisters and been like, yeah, my husband was a god, but he was really disappointed after I tried to stab him, but he's ready to try again with you. So they lie to their husbands and say their parents are sick, and they go to the cliff and jump off, but the wind doesn't catch them. So they fall to their death.
Wow.
Yeah.
Zephyr's like, I had a wax appointment or something. Like, could not make it.
Venus is crying to Ceres. We may remember her from the Two Towers episode, goddess of the earth. And Juno, home slice, goddess of marriage and Jupiter's wife. So she's complaining about her son being a horn dog. And you need to get some rest. Your bags will make you ugly. You deserve some of your time. She goes back to the sea for a while. Psyche is then looking for Cupid, and she finds a temple to Ceres. It's in disarray. She cleans it up, and Ceres is like, thank you. I would help you, but like, I don't want to be on Venus's bad side. You should maybe go to her. And meanwhile, Venus has organized a search. Like, all these people are searching for Psyche. Psyche does the same to a temple of Juno, because Juno is also the goddess of women, and she's like, I'm married, I'm pregnant, I'm a woman, you're the goddess of all those things. And Juno's like, still can't help you, don't want to be on Venus's bad side, go talk to her.
God damn. So
Venus has organized this search, and the reward for anyone who finds Psyche is 3 kisses from Venus, 1 with tongue.
Hot.
Wow.
It's just kissing. Does that come with powers? Like, is it like 3 wishes?
No, it's just a kiss.
What the hell else do you need?
I could use a little more cash.
So smoochy.
So meanwhile, this Psyche goes to this servant of Venus and is like, hey, I'm here. And she's like, you slut, you runaway slave. And then she's hitting her, a pregnant woman, and she takes her to Venus. And so after, I assume, Venus and this servant girl make out, Venus then violently beats up the girl carrying her grandchild. She tears her hair, she rips her clothes, she punches her, hits her. And then, so after beating up a pregnant girl who's carrying her grandchild, Venus is like, clean all these tiny kernels of grain overnight, slave. And so Venus goes to bed. Cupid is in the same house. Cupid and Psyche are in the same house, but Cupid.
Yeah, he's up there playing Xbox.
He's playing Xbox. He's nursing his wound. Psyche's getting beaten up. And the ants are like, we gotta help this girl. Because Psyche's like, fuck, I can't do this. Not only is it hard, I'm pregnant and just got beat up. So the ants help her out. And then Venus comes in the morning and is like, obviously you had help or you used magic. Beats her up again. And then is like, go get the golden fleece from the golden sheep of the sun god, who are famous for mauling people. And this time you can't have help. So Psyche is like, I guess I'll just drown myself at the river nearby. But meanwhile, a reed is like, don't kill yourself, you're so sexy. And this little plant.
Like a blade of grass?
Yes.
Cute.
Is like, the goddesses won't help her, but this blade of grass is like, what's you gonna do, pluck me? Like, She's like, just wait for the sheep to like pass through the thicket, and they'll leave fleece in the brambles, and you just gather that. And she's like, big brain in a small plant.
Yeah.
So she goes back to Venus with the fleece, and Venus is like, what? And she's like, you have to go to this mountain, to this fountain that waters the river Styx. There's a bunch of dragons, and it's so dark and dank. The gods swear by it. Humans swear by the gods. Gods swear by this fountain. So she's going there.
She's still pregnant.
She's still pregnant. And this eagle is like, I work for Jupiter. And Cupid helped Jupiter out when he asked me to kidnap that young boy named Ganymede to be a cupbearer for Jupiter, aka an underage sex slave. So they had the kind of relationship that was common in ancient Greece, that Paul condemned in the Bible, and this is what was now translated to the word homosexual in the 40s. So the word homosexual in the Bible is younger than the Disney movie Snow White. Let's just say that.
Interesting.
Yeah. After Psyche does this with help of the eagle takes her jar, fills the water, brings it back. It's like, gotta help out Cupid. She goes back to Venus, and Venus is like, go to hell. She's like,
how about Cupid not help out this poor pregnant woman?
Yeah. The ants and the reed are just doing it because they're like, this girl.
This is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
This eagle's like, I know somebody who owes them a favor.
Yeah. So Venus is like, go to hell, and sends Psyche to get a box of Persephone's beauty.
Literally go to hell.
Literally go to hell. Go to Hades, go to the queen of the underworld, and get some of her beauty in a box. Because Venus has bags from all the nurturing she's done to Cupid after Psyche injured him. Let us recall from the Book of Life episode.
She's just get a facelift. Ponytail facelift just goes like that. It's perfect.
As we recall from the Book of Life episode, the goddess of love and the goddess of the underworld typically don't get along, like Ishtar and her sister. So this trope is so old and related to the story, which will come up in an interesting way. So Psyche again is like, I guess I'll kill myself. And then this tower is like, yo, I know how to get around the underworld. Just take my advice. Me, a tower. He's like,
one of two from the Lord of the Rings.
Take some coins and bread, go down to this certain cave, go to the underworld. The underworld is greedy now. They're like, it's become capitalist. It's an MLM. So pay Karen.
It's like gods of Egypt.
Yeah, exactly. Pay Karen the ferryman, and he'll take you over the river. People are going to ask for help. They're going to ask for assistance. It's a trap. Don't listen. And then when you go to Cerberus, the three-headed guard dog, give him some bread, and he'll eat that, and he'll let you pass. And so she goes to the heart of the underworld, to Persephone's palace, and tells her the story. Persephone's like, oh, I feel sorry for you. And it's like, sure, here's this box.
It's got my beauty in it.
It's got my beauty. My name literally means the destroyer, and I'm one of the nicest people in this story. And so Psyche's on her way back, and she's like, I'm ugly, I'm pregnant, I've been beat up, I'm haggard. I just want to, like, maybe a little bit of goddess beauty is gonna make me look good for Cupid. So she opens the box, and right out of the box comes a sleep-like death, which Persephone put in to fuck with Venus because she doesn't like her. So it wasn't gonna kill Venus, it was just been like annoying. But so Venus did the long game of like, Persephone isn't gonna give me beauty, but it will trick Psyche into opening it and killing herself.
Jesus.
So Persephone was not planning to murder this pregnant girl, just to annoy the goddess of beauty. Meanwhile, Cupid has actually been trying to escape his mom's palace. And like a cat or an octopus, he can squeeze out of a tiny hole. So he finds a tiny hole in his room and he squeezes out. And he gets to Psyche, and his love awakens her, saves her. He wipes the sleep from her eyes, and they're reunited. And he's like, we got to be together. I'm going to go over my mom's head. He goes to Jupiter, and Jupiter's like, I'll make Psyche a goddess and let you be married as equals, because the marriage was like a clandestine marriage. But you have to agree to help me get any woman I want. Yikes.
Oh, gross.
But Cupid's like, I guess gotta help out this girl I banged.
I have to imprison someone else so that I can have my pregnant wife.
The cycle of the patriarchy
never ends.
So all the
Around
gods.
and around and around and around. It's like the water cycle.
Yes. So all the gods have to go, or they pay a fine. So they have to go to this wedding. And Apollo and the Muses sing. Venus dances for them to like make up for it. And Psyche is a goddess.
That must have been one hell of a dance.
Yeah, it was
shaking.
It was
shaking her Obamas.
Shaking her Obamas, yeah. So Psyche's baby is later born as the goddess of pleasure. She later goes to high school with Renesmee from Twilight, and everyone
she certainly didn't go to high school with me.
No, yeah. Everyone likes her better than Renesmee. They're like that. The Renesmee girl, creepy as fuck. The goddess of pleasure. She's a fun time.
Yeah.
So that is Cupid and Psyche. Do we see, especially in connection with the stories we talked about last week, the evolution here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this story predates those.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I guess like for me, the thing that I see as the thread is like, she thinks that she has married a beast, but turns out he's just hot.
Yeah.
And all she had to do was just look at him. Open her fucking eyes.
Open her fucking eyes. And not trust those other women.
Yeah.
But I think another key element, and this is why I was talking about this specifically with this movie, is the element of a prohibition that she breaks. And we're going to see that in another story, which is much shorter, that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Bluebeard by Charles Perrault. He's going to come up a lot, so we'll talk about him another time. He was this rich French guy. I don't know how rich he was, but he worked for Louis XIV, the Sun King. And he wrote these very famous collection of fairy tales with the most popular versions of like Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Puss in Boots. So big deal.
I heard that sequel is bomb.
Yeah, everyone's talking about how good it
I heard
is.
that too.
And Lyle's like, we should watch it.
Boots.
And I was like, I haven't seen the other ones. I'd be so lost.
I don't even know.
You didn't see any of the Shrek ones? Or just the Puss in Boots one?
Just the Puss in Boots.
How about just Puss in Boots?
Yeah.
I think I've seen
There's only
all
one
of
other.
the Shrek sequels.
Yeah,
is there?
There was only one other one before.
Yeah.
Which was okay. It wasn't great.
Of course I've seen Shrek and like.
Well, you said you didn't see the other ones.
Shrek 2. Amazing.
We will have to
Shrek
get
the
to
Third.
Shrek at some point.
Okay. Sir Justin being
I had
in
Justin. That was right. JT was in that one. That gives it a
Yeah.
boost up.
But I mean, come on. Fairy Godmother in Shrek 2?
Oh, I love
Yes.
Jennifer Saunders.
Oh, so good. Anyway.
Finally, we agree on something.
It only took 8 million years.
It only took how many years since the release of Chicken Little? Once upon a time, there was this rich guy but had a blue beard, and this was before hair dye was common. So that freaked people out. They would run and scream from him. And he spoke to his neighbor, this woman who had 2 daughters, and he wanted to marry one. But they were like, he's so ugly. But he threw a party, and he invited all
He's not a pirate?
No.
I thought he was going to be a pirate.
Yeah.
Okay, I think in my mind, anytime I hear Bluebeard, I mix up
Blackbeard.
Blackbeard.
Yeah.
And I just cross out because I know the story of Bluebeard, but I cross those over as like he's also a pirate.
He's also
And he
a
has this
pirate.
weird robe.
I think he is a pirate, honestly. I just think he has to be.
Yeah.
So they invite a lot of other hot, young, rich people over for a weekend at his Beverly Hills house. And it was so fun. And they went hunting and dancing, and they stayed up all night doing pranks, gossip, and witchcraft. Guess which one of those 3 is in the original text, and which of the 2 I added?
I'm gonna say, wait, what were they? Pranks,
Gossip, and witchcraft.
Gossip. I think the original one is gossip, but I kind of want it to be witchcraft.
I think I agree with Hannah.
It's pranks.
Oh,
They're pulling
no!
pranks all night.
Ashton Kutcher all over this bitch.
Impractical Jokers, yeah. So the younger daughter was like, you know what? Maybe I should marry my older creepy neighbor. He's rich. It's fun. Bad idea. Because so they get married, and he's like, soon after, he's like, I have to go on a business trip to Miami. Here are all
Pirate
my
stuff.
Yeah. here are all my keys, all my passwords. You know that weird room in the cellar? And she's like, no. Well, don't go in there. Don't use this key. It's for that weird room. And he leaves, and she's so curious. And all her young friends want to come over. It's like, you have a great house, but your husband sucks, but he's gone. Let's come over. And they go, but she can't enjoy the party because she's so curious. The pranks aren't hitting.
I would be too. I would be like, what is in that room?
So she goes to the cellar and she opens it. She finds a murder basement full of the mutilated bodies of his past wives. I think it's 7 other women.
Cute.
She drops the key in horror and it gets stained with blood on the floor. And like Lady Macbeth, she can't get the stain out. And so Bluebeard comes home early. He's like, oh, my friend did it for me. NFTs. And she's like, great. And she's trying to delay giving him the keys. But by dinner time, she has to show him. And he's like, I see blood. You saw my murder dungeon. And she's like, no, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he's like, you're going to join all of them down there. And she cries and sobs and pleads. And they described that she was so beautiful and it would have moved even a rock to pity. But he was more cruel than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He was
Black Adam.
So she convinces him to like let her go up to her room to pray. And they give her a few minutes to set her soul right before she's murdered. So she runs up and she calls to her neighbor and sister, one of the few characters in this story with a name, Anne. She's like, Anne, like, are our brothers coming? Her brothers are in the military. She has brothers and they're in the military. We're just learning this now. And she's like, Anne's like, I think they're coming. Like, I think I can see it. She's like, Anne. And so, but Bluebeard runs up and grabs her by the hair and is like gonna kill her. And then the brothers storm in and are like, the fuck? And they just kill him. As they should. So basically Anne is Greta Thunberg, and the brothers are the Romanian police, and Bluebeard is Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe the
bring
keys
back
are
to
the
modern
pizza.
times.
Yeah.
The key.
Yeah.
The pizza box was the key.
The key. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so this is totally giving me vibes of the last episode with the key. The key that made the whole thing that made no sense. The little pavilion thing. But
there's a end to this story in that he has no heirs, so she inherits the estate.
Oh, isn't that just wonderful?
She throws parties. She gets the trophy husband of her
so
dreams.
many pranks.
So many pranks.
She gives them the tours like, this is where all the bodies were stored.
Anne, her sister, with the money, gets to marry her sweetheart. They were trying to get married, but they were too poor. So Anne gets
that's nice.
Money.
Yeah. So happily ever after. And Pearl ends this. He always ends this with a little witty moral. And there's a lot of debate over how sarcastic they are. Like if he means it or if he doesn't, and which ones he does. He basically, he's like, don't be curious, ye daughters of Eve and Pandora. But he also says husbands these days are just like omega beta losers who don't fear their wives, unlike this rad Chad Bluebeard. So people think he was joking. At the time, he was called a feminist. Like he was considered a feminist writer. But I don't think that would really fit our definition because his was women are capable of being good. That was like his thesis.
That's a feminist idea for sure.
Yeah, and so that's what it's like. He was like, yeah, women should be able to go to the opera, like a pretty bare minimum. Yeah, but yeah, the prohibition is the element we're talking about, and how the women are treated for breaking the prohibition. I think this movie marks kind of a change in that.
This specific movie.
Yes, the 1991 Beauty and the Beast.
Well, yeah, I mean, he doesn't try to murder her.
Well,
explicitly
in the, I think it's interesting is in Cupid and Psyche, like Psyche and Bluebeard's wife are both punished for they're seen as in the wrong.
Yes.
I mean, Bluebeard, it's like slightly debatable, but the moral is like, don't be curious. It's like, you would want to know if your husband had 7 dead wives in the basement. But it's like, it's considered, or
like, would you? Do you want to know?
My wives did.
Oh boy.
But in this movie,
Wait, so do you have them next to all your diamond collection VHSs?
Yeah, they're under there. They're all buried together.
In this movie, she breaks the prohibition, but the one who's in the wrong is the Beast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he flips out. And I think the key to that I find is a strength in this movie that they didn't have in the 1940s version, where we talked about, and I just keep thinking of Katrina's face where it's like, I'm a beast. Where like he's so like aggressive, but there's someone here to tell Beast in the 90s version, like, keep a hold of your temper, like be nice to her. And so like we have a sort of a moral compass for the Beast. We know the Beast is capable of being good. Yeah.
I think these objects are so key to this movie.
Absolutely.
And I think we will see how they're used in a later episode to the detriment instead of to what really builds it up.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I guess we can talk about the movie. T, do you have any thoughts about these stories?
I like them.
Yeah.
In the one you read, there's the part where you said that the guy said, "Don't look down there." That reminded me of in the movie where they say, "Oh, don't look at the West Wing. Don't go in there." And of course,
don't
Belle
watch that series.
Immediately wants to go. Oh, the great Aaron Sorkin, right?
Yeah, she's like, but I'm a Sorkin fan.
So that reminded me of that.
Yeah. So it's weird because
that element of it.
So Bluebeard it's not necessarily a specific Beauty and the Beast like Cupid and Psyche kind of is, kind of like the Beaumont and stuff. But that element is in the 1940s movie and also this movie. But it's not in the Beaumont or the Villeneuve, right?
Yeah, because the thing with Bluebeard, and there's some similar stories like Fitcher's Bird, is it's kind of like the husband looks evil, it turns out he is evil.
Right.
Like, it's evil, she warms to him, plot twist, he is. But in Beauty and the Beast, is like, he looks evil, he starts acting evil, and then it's like, oh, but he was good, and he was hot, you know?
Right. Yeah, interesting. So
there are definitely stories about the anxiety of marriage in a time you often didn't know your husband very well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the Bluebeard story makes sense with this story because what we know of what a beast is, he's got to be terrible. And he's got a secret whole wing that is clearly terrible. Turns out it's just messy.
Yeah, it's just like when someone is coming over and you're like going somewhere else and you don't want to let them
don't look under the bed.
Apartment. Yeah.
Don't look in my closet. Don't
go in the bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there soap?
Did we think of the same bathroom when we said that?
Yeah, we did. So 1991, let's talk about this movie. We get a prologue in stained glass, not a book. We're evolving. Even though we haven't touched on a Disney movie with a book yet, but
that's a good point because a lot of those stories did begin using a text to show you the story. And this, I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point. It's the stained glass windows of the castle, I guess, right?
Presumably permanent.
Yes.
So then spoiler alert for a movie from 1991, it changes at the end, or is it a different window?
I thought it was like a cycle. Like you go down this garden and you see the stained glass windows telling the story.
Oh, I see.
Which is like, I'm surprised
I just thought, I was like, oh, they replaced the window.
Yeah.
They replaced the window. That's nice.
I mean, maybe, yeah. It's like, would you want a window of that?
Just I thought when the castle got magic at the end, I thought it changed. But I like that idea too, that you walk through.
I do too.
Wherever
so it's sort of like a book, but it's more like the stained glass windows and the paintings that you would see like in churches.
Yeah.
Little stories.
Telling a story. Visual language. So we had a prologue, stained glass window. We had this haughty young prince, and he sends away this old hag who asks for shelter from the bitter cold.
How old is he?
That was my question too. Because don't they say 10 years?
Yes, and he was supposed to be for his 21st birthday, so he was 11. I mean, I don't have any problems with this. It's just a question.
I think those things were not coordinated. I think that was just a lyric because the men means a long time, 10 years, and then it's like, I think it was a little goof. It was an oopsie.
Is it in the IMDb? Let's find out.
Well, because people have harped on it, and it becomes every little fun joke you can make about this movie has been made to the point where the 2017.
Listen, I'm new to this.
Maybe he was.
I get to make these jokes.
Maybe he was 21, but when the magic happened, it froze him at that age.
That's the remake.
Is that what they did?
The remake has all these weird rules and logic, and they they over-explain the rules in response to every like internet joke and article.
Absolutely.
To the point where the story is like almost so secondary to the weird.
Because they do that whole thing of where people forget that the castle exists, and you never really even think about it. Yes, because that was also
a question.
Well, Hannah did. I never even thought about it.
I did, because I was like, well, why are they attacking? But I was just kind of like, they're asshole town people. Of course they're going to attack it.
Well, because the royalty never says he's the crown prince, and royalty have kept multiple castles. So this could have just been some country estate.
Yeah, it was like, where's his parents?
His parents are like, don't give a shit about him.
It's like, he's a little asshole. We're going to send him off to
or at this point, maybe his older brother's king. Like, he's like, I don't want him to have heirs. He can stay a beast.
Okay, but that's crazy. That is it a headcanon or is it legit that there is thought that he's frozen in time, so he's actually 11 or whatever age he was?
That is the sequel.
Yeah, the remake.
Yeah, the remake. Yeah, the remake.
It's never stated or really even implied, I don't think, in the 91 version.
No.
That's these internet
I can believe
things.
that he's gonna be stunted. He's surrounded by talking.
Yeah, nothing suggests it can't be. Well, the other thing that may support that, well, how old is Chip? Because he's a little boy. He didn't age when he came out of the spell. He was still.
Oh my God! Did Mrs. Pot give birth to all those little cups? Wait, who's her husband? The stove?
Hannah,
also,
all
why
these
is
questions
Chip the only child who ever appeared?
You know that thing you used to squirt into a turkey? You know that
a baster?
Baster. That's how she got pregnant, with the baster.
All these questions are going to be answered, Hannah, in the most annoying way possible in the 2017 movie, and you're going to realize
but you're right.
You didn't want to ask these questions. Yeah, you didn't need the answer.
I want to ask them. I just want to explore them, but I don't want them put into a movie. Oh my God, no.
But Cullen's right, and that other one, they overstuffed it with questions that you didn't really think about that hard. You were able to accept the film for what it was, and then that they tried to overdo. Wasn't there time travel?
Yeah,
or
like teleportation. Yeah. Well, because in the Jean Cocteau, he says, suspend your disbelief and go on this magical journey. And one of the YouTube videos I sent Hannah that she didn't watch. This YouTuber Lindsay Ellis, we've referenced her before. She says, the 2017 one opens with, let us respond to pedantic nitpicks all over the internet, and like try and make this so logical.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking these because it's fun to me. I don't care about the answers.
I think some of the questions, like the timeline, there's a few easy ways you could potentially resolve it. Just, maybe he's only been a beast for 5 years.
But again, going back to what we kind of talked about last episode, was that my big issue, I think everyone's big issue with that, was we have so many questions about the key part of that story, which is their love. And that kind of ruined it for us. These questions, it don't matter, because I think they did a good job in convincing me of this love story, that it's genuine, it's happening.
Yeah, no, I think it's like
I don't have questions about that.
They're focused on the meat, and it's a fairy tale, so there's always going to be weird things that are just part of the story that don't make sense, and we just kind of accept them because we've been ingrained to them. I remember explaining to someone from India this story, because they asked like what a musical I'd written was about, and I was like, the story of Sleeping Beauty. He's like, I don't know that story, and I started explaining it to him, and you just realize
and you're
sound insane. Like, I'm like, okay, there are these fairies, and there's the baby's birth, and there's a spindle. Do you know what a spindle is? It's like so weird. It's just so weird when you step back. But we are, even if you don't like know the story, you're so familiar with the concept of a Sleeping Beauty in like Western culture that it's just something we accept.
Yeah, we're the weird ones.
Yeah, we're the weird one. Because Sleeping Beauty, I think in the grand scheme of fairy tales, is slightly newer, as in like the Middle Ages, as opposed to like Beauty and the Beast, which is going back to like ancient Rome at the latest, if not earlier, you know. Or Cinderella, like so old. Yeah. So anyways, the Beast remains an outcast. His only mirror to the outside world is a magic mirror. The last petal will fall on his 21st birthday, and he needs to break the curse by learning to love and be loved in return. I'm guessing it's romantic love because I do think he loves his object friends.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think he does love
because there are
them.
different types of love.
Yeah.
But you know, the world wasn't quite ready for Frozen, you know, sisters loving each other. They weren't ready for that yet.
Yeah, they at least we're at the point where we're ready to not have like evil sisters trying to ruin.
Yeah. Because I mean, could you imagine the story with Belle having evil sisters? Like,
who cares?
Who wasn't an early version of this Disney one? The villain was a sister.
Well, I think
I read that
in the not live action, in like the non-musical version, she had a little sister, but they still had an evil suitor like Avenant in the Jean Cocteau, but he was more like foppy, more like French, you know, like makeup.
This is French.
Yeah. You know, whereas Gaston, you know,
real American French type.
Real American French.
Yes.
Gaston's probably in Congress right now, like. Yeah.
Or if we're lucky, he was voted out.
Yeah. This book's gonna get banned in Florida. So we meet our heroine when they say, "Who could learn to love a beast?" Let's show you who.
I literally was like, "This bitch." So going back to the prologue, it does say that he was a shithead. So he was kind of like a beast to begin with and had to learn to become a good person.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like a Gaston.
Yeah.
Before he became a Gaston.
So he literally, like, this story is more so about like beauty is, because it literally says beauty is within, right? Also, I totally was thinking about the old woman who turns out she was a fairy. I kept thinking about you having to go through all that fairy lore. And I was hoping there was going to be a lore dump at the beginning of this movie, but there wasn't. It was very small.
Yeah, no lore dump about the fairy trying to groom the prince. Yeah.
But I was like, is that the one fairy that we couldn't figure out who she was?
The mother of seasons.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, she's you know, it's a common trope in fairy tales where like you show kindness to the poor old woman, and what happens to you is based on how you respond to them. And he chose poorly. This is what happens to him and his staff, because fairies aren't always just. Fairies are like gods. Like gods do things, and it's not always fair, but they have their own morality. Fairies are like shitty.
That always bugged me.
Yeah,
that bugged me that they all got punished for him.
And then that will be also answered in the most annoying way possible in the next movie we watch. Chip is complicit. Chip is the problem.
Yes, let's blame a 7-year-old.
That's the answer we get in 2017.
Spoilers for a movie I've already seen but completely forgotten.
Because you love yourself, but I'm gonna make you watch it. I'm sorry.
Because you hate me.
So Belle is a kind, loyal, and curious woman who loves to read, and she loves her quirky inventor dad, Maurice. She's going to town and she sings the song, Belle. She looks down on the town and the town looks down on her back.
Yeah, she's no one really likes each other in this situation. And you know what? That's fine. I get why she wants to leave.
Yeah, these people suck.
They're kind of just like,
well,
she should leave too.
She wants to leave in like a sense of like, I'm a young person and like a teenager. Like she could be anywhere from 17 to 20.
She wants to go backpacking.
Yeah, she wants to leave her shitty town of small-minded people. She wants to like go to like college and sit in the cafes and talk about philosophy. She wants to go backpacking through Thailand. Like, and I get it. She's that age. I wanted that same thing at that age.
How old's Belle supposed to be?
So she does not have.
Uh-oh, you
she
just
doesn't-
triggered Cullen.
I have a thing about Disney princess ages. So I
Yeah.
don't think she has a canon age, and they
Okay.
purposely chose this actress because they wanted someone to sound like a woman, not a girl.
Oh, interesting.
I think the common one you'll hear is 17, which I think was literally chosen because no one else was 17 and they needed one, so they had one like for every age.
Oh,
But then
I pegged her at like 22.
yeah, like
that's what I was thinking.
she's
But, like,
like
she's, like,
college
she just, like,
aged.
Yeah, she's like near the end of college, maybe, or maybe a little younger, maybe like 19,
Yeah.
20.
There's
early
certain
college.
princesses I think you just, even if they don't state an age, you read as older, like Belle, Tiana,
Yes.
Cinderella.
Yes.
The way they act is more like, oh, like that's a woman,
Right.
you know, maybe a woman dealing with childhood trauma, but a woman nonetheless. Whereas like the way like an Ariel acts or like Snow White, you're like, oh, that's like a teenager.
Yeah.
And sometimes they say the age, but I don't think it always has to be super specific. It's just like, okay. Anyways, so she sings her these are townies in this song. They're making fun of her because she likes to read and she's odd, and they worship the local jock and they punish being different. And people are busy with their day-to-day lives. They don't want to talk about her books. They're busy saying, Marie, the baguettes, hurry up, or flirting with this woman who's breasting boobily around the town. Did we see her? How
Of course
is your
I did.
wife as she's breasting about? But I love how all the townspeople are like, they're all the same but yet different. Like they all have such distinctive looks.
Yeah.
And I feel like we don't get that in 3D animation as much.
Yeah.
Like I don't think
agree.
any of those people in the Frozen Village really clicked with me the same
No.
way.
They're distinctive. I can remember certain
Yeah.
ones in this from their
Like-
design that I can't really in these later ones.
Yeah,
I
like
hate those 3D ones in comparison with this. I mean, they're so
is it
individual.
because, is there something with like the technicality? I mean, maybe
it's
potentially
drawn
ask
by a
Alyssa about
human,
this.
not by
Yeah,
a-
exactly.
Yeah, but like maybe is there something with like the technicality of like how long or how time consuming it is to use the technology to create them? It's just like it's easy to just kind of copy and paste and tweak a little.
Yeah,
I don't know.
probably something closer to that.
I'll have to ask Alyssa about that.
Yeah.
Gaston does look quite a bit like Avenant with like the longer hair
Yeah.
pulled back.
The
He's
boots.
just he's his boots with the fur.
Yeah.
Except I think there's no
Those
fur.
would be, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's it was kind of striking to see Gaston and be like, oh yes, very, very similar. I would say maybe a mix of Ludovic and Avenant sort of very mushed together. Like the darker hair and
the long little ponytail.
yeah.
Belle stands out in the town. She's the only one to wear the color blue. I put this in a college paper on the color blue. That was a choice to make her stand out. And her outfit was designed to reflect Maria from Sound of Music.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah. And she was returning a book to the bookshop owner. And he gives her this book because it's her favorite. She's read it twice. It's romance and adventure.
It's Aladdin.
Yeah, I've heard
There's
that
a
one.
head canon.
It's Aladdin. But then she says, when I met her, she said it was Romeo and Juliet. And I thought that was her favorite book.
You should have questioned that. Also, Romeo and Juliet's a play.
Yeah. But,
she should have said, my Shakespeare anthology is my favorite book.
I'm not here to
In
harass.
You should. Harass that cast member and tell her she's doing her job wrong.
I'm not here to harass a cultural icon, okay?
You mean the woman playing Belle wasn't authentic, Hannah?
No.
That was not a woman playing Belle.
Oh, sorry.
That was Belle.
Sorry. That's right.
Don't do that to Cullen. He just
you're right.
I will, throughout this podcast, refer to all these stories like they're real events featuring real people. That is just what I do. I will reference every Greek god or mythology as if they are a person I know, or at least know of and have opinions about. So Gaston, he shoots down a goose, or
I like that part.
You like that? I was like, or maybe
I was shocked. I was like, this movie has gun violence.
Yeah. He's gonna shoot down the Chinese spy balloon next.
Didn't they already take that down? Was that Gaston? Good for him. Good for him. Yeah, and then he promptly points his gun at Belle and be like, that's the woman I want to marry. He literally points a gun at her.
Yeah.
Yeah, not nice.
Not a
That's
nice
bad
guy.
gun etiquette.
Yeah. He's worshipped by the T's favorite characters, the Bimbettes,
Yes.
the town
Mm.
girls,
Is
the
that what-
plastics.
Did they ever have? Yeah, the plastics.
So I think in the musical they're called the silly girls, but my mom always called them the Bimbettes with such like just that's what they're on, the Bimbettes.
I
And I'm
could
like,
believe
that's
that.
such a
Sounds
better
French.
name, yeah, than just the silly girls.
Yeah, they're interesting.
The
I like the
Bimbettes have a
design.
great album on Spotify.
As
and
is the Bimbettes, it sounds like
a girl group.
yeah, but
and
like
the silly girl sounds like a girl group made up of like real middle schoolers that post one awkward video to YouTube. As
yeah,
is their
and we
right as a middle
support them.
schooler.
and we support them.
Yes, we do. To all you people saying I'm 9 years old, first of all, I'm 11, so shut the fuck up. Yeah, I love the meat. So, anyways, Gaston is like, she's the most beautiful girl in town. I'm gonna marry her. She's a prize.
Ugh.
She's a Helen of Troy. Yeah. I love memes about this song. Like, there goes when she says, "There goes the baker," and like, there goes Belle singing her daily mean song about us.
Yeah.
There are some great memes, but I think this song is just so good at setting up. Here are our characters. Here's this town. Like, it's so effective.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think the worst meme I've seen about it is someone that's like, Belle could have started a literacy program in the town. And I'm like, you want a 20-year-old and whatever the fuck royalty age is, a common born person with no money to run a literacy program? With whose money? With who? Like, she's not even a
because
nun.
that bookstore owner,
Yeah.
she's clearly not paying for these books.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't have the money to help her out.
Yeah.
That's
Also-
bananas.
Yeah. Also, it's weird. I've said this before, women reading wasn't insane
Bad
at the
idea.
time. Wasn't a bad idea. It was common, but for someone of her social class and a woman to read is unusual.
Yes. Yeah.
Because what's so weird about her? Like, what do they think is so weird that she reads?
She
But
reads.
then
Okay.
she's got a wacky father.
Well, I think her dad has a lot to do with it.
yeah.
because
What's they say they talk
they're
about how weird she
very-
is, but
Yeah, they're
And they-
very ableist. But
they live in a
she-
separate house too. Like, they're not in the
that's true.
True. But so the part where my Roku decided to freak out on me, literally they animate her kind of like walking kind of strange. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
she is a weirdo.
She's
Boom.
like
Is gone. And I was
like-
like, oh God, Disney didn't like that I said that.
like, no,
I was
they're in
like,
the
no
wrong.
wonder they think she's weird.
She does
She's
kind of like
like,
swish her
"Ugh."
ass a bit as she reads.
But she's
I like
yeah,
that, though.
and she's just kind of like, ugh. I was like, yeah, she is a little weird.
But I think it's just she's like a daydreamer.
Yeah.
She does the chores
Because
on
then
her
they
house.
kept saying all these nasty things about her. I was like, okay, you guys are assholes.
Yeah, I think she doesn't run like a shop or anything. I think they're newish to the town. Like, they haven't known them as long.
Mm.
They're like
Mm.
weird newbies. She likes to read. Like, she should be doing laundry. You know, like that's kind of I feel like the vibe they have with her. And she doesn't
Yeah.
like Gaston, and she uses words they don't know. And so it's like I feel like Belle grew up in a city, and I see. Then every
we're
idea
headcanoning.
I have, the 2017 movie then does it terribly. I just kind of assumed she grew up in the city and they moved to the country because it was cheaper, like in the fairy tale. And people are like, you're new, you're weird. It's like when you move to a town like halfway through high school, people are like, oh, we don't know you. Whereas like if
Yeah.
you've been there since elementary school, even if you're kind of weird, it's like, oh, but that's just Jeff, you know? And
That's Jeff.
Makes sense.
And so in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, as an Easter egg, and I don't think Easter eggs actually mean continuity, you see Belle in like the town when he's singing out in Paris, when he's singing out there.
Mhm.
Oh.
And so I'm like,
Interesting.
maybe they lived in Paris and Maurice was like, I'm not fucking around with this guy, like burning all the Romani people and like attacking him.
I like
Let's
that.
just move to
Yeah.
I don't want my daughter raised in that environment. We're moving to the country with the good, honest folk. And then it didn't
Who
work out.
apparently
so well.
hate us all.
Who really hate us. But then they say that she was in Paris in the live action remake in the most annoying way possible. So thanks for ruining that for me, Disney. So Gaston is like, Belle, do you want to come look at my trophies? One of them is a griffin. One of the trophies in the tavern you see is like a giant eagle head. I'm like, that's a griffin. Or a huge
Oh.
eagle. And so he's like, and he wonders how she reads a book without pictures. And this is something they've confirmed. He opens the book sideways, and like, because he's looking for the centerfold.
Oh, that's a good
Interesting.
tidbit. Good
Yeah.
tidbit.
The
And
tidbit.
Tidbit. Yeah,
Yeah.
tidbit.
Tidbit.
And Belle, she says, some people use their imagination, and I used that to make a dick joke in my fanfic, in my Disney fanfic.
Cute.
Yeah, she's very sassy in that, because you really, when you have all these princesses, you have to emphasize certain traits, because they would, if they're all in the same story, they hit a lot of the same character beats. So she's like the sassy iconoclast. Yeah. Gaston's sidekick, LeFou, straight icon. He
I'm sorry, he is definitely a BDSM king.
Yeah.
Later, when he puts that belt around Gaston's neck, I was like, oh, he's the Dom. Oh.
He's the Dom. Ooh. Okay. So I guess I'll take that. I'll take that one. So he's making fun of Belle's dad, and Belle's like, don't talk about my father that way. And the scene where Gaston is like, don't talk about her father that way. This like introduced to me the concept of like people like lying and faking things to people. Like, I remember,
this
like,
introduced that to
yeah,
you?
because I just remember as a kid being like, because you see, like, I never remember the first time seeing this movie. I had always seen this movie, right? I remember watching it and saying, Mom, like, why does he say one thing and then say the other? And it's like, well, he's trying to like impress her and like pretend he's someone else.
And then he's a lying piece of shit who still makes fun, who laughs at her dad in front of her as she's like walking away. It's like,
yeah,
what is it? He's so delusional. I think that was also like, he's so annoying and delusional. It's like over the top.
But the thing is,
I can't wait to see Luke Evans though.
But what I like about Gaston is that he is one of the most realistic Disney villains. And that like you could him, the guy from Hunchback, the judge, and Cinderella's stepmother, they're the ones you could like meet on the street. Those are like very much like real people.
And his evil schemes, his goals aren't taking over the Lion Kingdom or becoming the Sultan. It's a fairly
he just
grounded
wants a trophy wife.
Right.
That he wants to hang on his wall.
Yeah. He wants to fuck this girl.
He's Bluebeard.
Right, exactly.
He's Bluebeard, yeah. Oh.
Bluebeard.
Yeah, you remember the story that Cullen told us like 25 minutes ago?
I know. I said he's Bluebeard.
Okay.
See how she's picking a fight with me? We go a few minutes without that she's picking a fight with me.
So Belle is talking with her dad, the inventor. I remember when he like pulls his pants down. I remember my friend, the one I showed to in high school, was just like, gross. And then so she's like helping him, and she's like, do you think I'm odd? And he's like, my daughter. And she's like, I don't really have anyone to talk to. I'm really lonely. And he's like, what about that Gaston guy? And she's like, that's a no from me, babes. No. Like, no.
Get your head out of the invention, Dad.
Dad doesn't get out much. He's in the basement.
Obviously.
Yeah.
From what happens. So he goes to town, and in an original draft, he went to the invention convention, and they had this whole like song and sequence, and they're like, we gotta
I love that.
I want that.
See, that's what we should have had in the live action remake.
Yeah, the invention convention.
Invention.
Like a Comic-Con, but for useless inventions.
Yeah. Like in Meet the Robinsons, the science fair.
Yeah.
You've seen Meet the Robinsons, and you haven't barely even seen Beauty and the Beast. This is where
there's no logic. I know it's weird. It's weird. I
appreciate an obscure reference, but my goodness, Anna.
That's the caffeine patch. So he gets lost because he's a dummy, and he gets attacked by wolves, and he goes to this castle, and he
also blames it on his horse.
Yeah,
right?
Philippe, yeah.
Not Magnifique.
Philippe, one of the, I'm gonna say, top 3 Disney horses.
Who are the other 2?
Samson.
The one from what about the one from Tangled?
Maximus. I think those are the top 3.
Okay.
Sorry, Old Major from Cinderella, and whatever the horse from Aristocats was.
Wait, what was the first one?
Old Major. That's Cinderella's
No.
horse.
No, the one that you said that you liked.
Samson.
Who's that?
Prince Philip's horse. No carrots. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Uh,
I have no choice. I'm the co-host.
So meanwhile, so he goes to this castle and he meets Lumiere.
Just like in the last episode, he just kind of walks in.
He walks in.
Yeah.
And he's
but at
like,
least he's more polite in this
he's
one.
like,
He doesn't just like help
"Hello."
himself. Yeah. He's like, I've fallen off my horse.
Yeah. And Lumiere and Cogsworth, the servants, I think they're
Who he tries to disembowel, by the way. He like opens up his
he
like
diddles his little
he diddles his little diddle.
So because he's an inventor, he's like, oh, how do they do this? And it's Lumiere. He is I think the maitre d', and he's turned.
I was trying to figure out what he was.
So I think
me too.
He hosts like the entertainment and stuff.
Right. I was like, oh, he's the guy who lights all the candles. Yeah. That's his job.
And Cogsworth is the butler, the steward. I think he's like that guy in Downton Abbey, the one in charge of all the servants. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they are like, Lumiere's like, he's cold. Like, let's take him to the fire, get him warmed up. And Cogsworth is like, the master will be upset. But Cogsworth, like Belle, or like Psyche, who needs to go to therapy, Cogsworth has anxiety.
Well, for good reason. He's living in the castle with a beast.
He's been turned into a clock. Of course he has anxiety.
But I'm not saying he shouldn't have anxiety. I'm just saying this clock man has anxiety.
Just making sure.
Yeah. Okay, it's just a straight up statement.
Yeah, I don't shame people for having mental illness. Yeah. That'd be rich.
Especially clock.
I know. I have nothing to. Here I am saying like Belle's kind of weird. I'm like, well, I'm pretty weird. So
don't throw stones from glass houses, as they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus said that, I think. So they meet
when he was flipping the table in the market.
Yeah.
He's mad at capitalism.
So they meet the footstool dog. His name is Sultan. Cute. Shout out to the Grimm's Brothers fairy tale, Old Sultan. And then we have Mrs. Potts and Chip.
Angela Lansbury, Murder She Wrote.
I think Mrs. Potts was like in charge of the kitchen, I guess.
Yeah, the cook or
like the head maid or something.
Yeah, she's like in Downton Abbey.
And she's employed all her children.
Yeah. And Chip,
I guess we don't know how they became born. She
is very fertile, or she's adopted a lot of
kids.
And
she is continuously fertile because she is an older woman. And her.
Or
good point.
Maybe it's when kids when servants die. Marie Antoinette would do this. When servants' parents would die, she would just adopt them.
Yeah, Marie Antoinette.
Marie Antoinette.
Yep.
She would
famously a movie by Sofia Coppola set in France. Where this movie is set. We forgot to say that.
So maybe she just adopts like orphan children.
Maybe.
Yeah, I could see her doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so they're warming him up, welcoming him, and this scene scared the life out of me as a kid. And my cat was watching it, and she was like, "The beast is mad." He's like, "This is where I learned the word trespassing. This and the Our Father." When it's like, and he's like, "You're trespassing here." And
you're like, "It's okay. I have Jesus."
He's like, "Did you come to look at the beast?" And I'm really insecure. Like that's basically it. He's saying like,
I'm a beast. I'm a beast.
Pardon. And she locks him up, or he locks him up with. That's how royalty canceled people. If you want me to explain what a dungeon is.
Right.
Yeah, I had no idea what a dungeon.
You're welcome. Yeah. So Gaston, meanwhile, is arranging a wedding for him and Belle. No, he's waiting to ask her until the moment of the wedding. Which shows you he really does not understand women, even in the basic meme kind of way of knowing they like to get ready for major events. So he comes to the door and she has this fancy invention to see him, and she's so annoyed that he's there. She's like, oh, this fucking guy. And he comes in very threatening. He's like crawling towards her. I would say before getting there, he listened to Maroon 5's Animal. And he was like, "That's me. Baby, I'm praying on you tonight. Hunt you down, eat you alive." And there's a beast in this movie, but I think that song is his vibe.
Yeah. And so, if this was a jukebox musical, Gaston would be singing Animal by Maroon 5. And the beast would sing something very pleasant because he's actually a decent person.
Yeah. He'd
Uptown
sing
Girl.
Uptown girl, my uptown.
That's actually
Yeah.
cute. I like that idea.
So
Suddenly we're rebooting Glee.
but Beauty and the Beast, yeah. So he's like moving furniture and getting in the way as she's like sneaking away, trying to like get away. And because he's like, I'm here to make all your dreams come true. And his idea of what her dreams are, because he's like, what do you know about my dreams? And it's to massage his sweaty feet, be a boy mom to his 7 sons, no daughters, and never climax in her life, we're assuming.
I was gonna say, oh, that was in the movie. I missed that.
Yeah.
That was a deleted scene.
That's yeah. Linda put it in there and they're like, a little too much, Linda. So she's nervous, but she's smart. She maneuvers and she kicks him in the mud with the pigs. And it's like, I just don't deserve you. Because she's like, I deserve literally anything else. I have enough self-respect to know that.
Because he is a pig.
He's a pig. He's a chauvinist pig.
Patriarchy.
Yeah.
There you
Call it
go.
out.
Cured once again. This is both episodes. You cured the patriarchy.
See,
We're
that's why
gone.
I'm a recurring guest on this show.
Yeah, because it keeps coming back.
I try him every time.
He's mad and he's like, I'll make Belle my wife. There's no mistake about that. So it's like, he's gonna.
Is this where he does the whole Gaston song?
That's it.
No.
That's later. Yeah.
Oh God.
This is where Belle sings her reprise, where she dreams of adventure.
Yes.
She blows the dandelion in the wind. R.I.P. to the dandelion community, because as a child couldn't get enough of that. Every time I saw him, I'd be like, I'm Belle.
And the whole field would be empty after you're done.
I'm wishing, I'm dreaming of
But
adventure.
it's okay, because then they flutter away and they plant themselves somewhere else.
I know, and my parents would be like, you're playing dandelions all over the yard.
Yeah.
And her horse Philippe comes and is like, hey, you wish for an adventure.
Let's
I got
go,
one.
bitch.
I got the craziest escape room. And so he takes her and she finds the castle and she enters and she's looking around. She's like, Papa? And in a bit of a deep cut, I made this a bit for a D&D character of mine. Whenever he like went in a dungeon or ever exploring, he's just like, Papa? Because she just goes to this big castle and is just like, Papa, are you here? Not like, hey, is anyone here? I'm looking for my dad. She does say that a little bit. Let's be fair. Okay. But still.
Yeah.
Still
but she
iconic.
does start on the wrong foot.
Yeah. And so everyone, including the sexy maid Feather Duster, who's not named in this film, but in the
and I figured it out. He doesn't have the flame on when they were behind the curtain. That's what it is. So
Unless she likes the.
But she has been burned by him before.
That's true. What's her name in the sequel?
Fifi. But in the
Fifi,
musical,
right.
it's Babette.
It's Babette.
And then in the
What?
shitty live action,
Babette.
Yeah.
I saw this weird French movie or Dutch movie once called Babette's Feast about this servant girl who lived with these two awful, prudy, like old ladies, and she made a big feast and made everyone feel good. It was just this weird, nice little movie. But yeah, so in the remake, it's Plumette. So this woman cannot have a consistent name. I'm like, just pick one.
I like Fifi. That's cute.
That's the one I think she tries to murder Belle because she's jealous of her. Yeah, cute.
Love that.
Just girl things. And yeah, so she meets the beast because and everyone's like, there's a girl in the castle. She goes find her dad and she's like, who did this? Who's done this to you? Like, we have to get you out of here. And he's like, no, you need to go. This is okay. No, I need to talk about my analysis once we finish the scene. So the beast appears. He's angry. He's like, he trespassed here. Here's my prisoner. And he's like, he's sick. He'll die. He needs help. And he's like, get wrecked. And she's like, wait, what if I stay and take me instead? Her idea.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay. And he's like, you have to stay here forever. And she's like, come into the light. And he steps in and he's a big ugly beast. And she stands up and is like, I accept. And so a deal is made. And he's like, okay. And he rips the dad out and she can't even say goodbye. And he sends her back to the village. And she's crying because she never got to say goodbye to her dad.
Yeah.
So compared to our previous iterations,
yeah,
this is her choice. I'm not saying like this was a shitty situation that she shouldn't have been in.
And also, he was literally imprisoned in the Ito version. He was just sort of in a pickle.
Yeah.
You know?
And so she is coming up with the idea of, will you take me instead?
And her dad is literally sick.
Yeah. Whereas in the older versions, it's like the Beast is like, okay, send me a daughter. Like he's, you know, and I think that's also key in that, even though that's like, oh, you're the mistress of the house now. In this version, it's like she made the choice to be there, and she's not happy about it. But she's like, you have my word. Like it's going off of her choices, you know, doing what she feels is right. And I think that gives her a lot more agency in the story.
For sure.
So that's our act 1. We've set the stage for the Broadway adaptation, which is better than the live action sequel or remake, whatever the fuck that is. So Lumiere is like, let's take her to a better room. And they take her to this guest suite, but on the way through all his like super hard rock punk goth castle, he's like, this is your home, but the West Wing is forbidden. She's like, what's in the West Wing? He's like, it's forbidden. She's like, okay, touchy. And she weeps in her bedroom as the snow falls. The timeline in this movie, I'm going to say it, a little confusing.
Yes.
Doesn't really matter. I think the only weak point is how long the food stands outside that house. But it is a cartoon at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah. This is where she meets her wardrobe, and I guess that's it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
But first we go to the tavern where Gaston is salty about Belle not being with him, and LeFou tries to cheer him up
by putting a belt around his neck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In public.
He does that. Yeah.
You're right. That choker. Right?
And I guess, and so Gaston in this song where they're singing about how great he is and how he's the best guy, he's the best as expectorating.
Gross.
They reveal that he caused the egg shortage. So whenever you have to pay for more for eggs now, it's because
not
of Gaston.
Joe Biden. It was Gaston.
And
also this movie, he's like, oh, I ate this many eggs so I could be big and strong. I was like, this movie brought to you by Big Egg.
Big Egg, yeah.
The
incredible edible egg, yeah. You know, in the opening song, there's someone that says, I need 6 eggs, and someone's like, that's too expensive. So there's an egg shortage in this movie because of Gaston.
And inflation for eggs is high because of Gaston.
Yeah.
No one rises in inflation like Gaston.
Yeah. So then Maurice is begging for help and they're making fun of him. Like, oh, and then Gaston is like, I'm afraid I've been thinking. And LeFou is like, that's dangerous. And he's like, I know, but let's trap Belle because she cares about her dad and he's crazy.
That'll make her fall in love, or at least say yes to marrying me.
That's all he cares about. He wants a pump and dump with his children.
Yeah.
It's true.
And then after that, he cuts up her head and puts it on the wall with the rest of his trophies.
I was just gonna say he sleeps with all the Bimbats while she's like,
well, that too.
Children.
Yeah, duh.
So while Maurice is looking for help, Belle's in the castle. She's meeting the wardrobe, Mrs. Potts and Chip. She's like, my dreams. And they're like, cheer up. It's going to be okay. This is in the musical. She sings a song called Home. It's sad. Yeah. And then Beast is waiting for her at dinner because he slams the door when she's dropped off at the room and is like, you will join me for dinner.
That is not a request.
And they're waiting, and Lumiere's like, oh, you're just going to fall in love right away. And Mrs. Potts is like, this takes time. And they're giving him all these tips, and he's listening to their advice. And this scene is so key because I don't think you really get this in the live action from what I remember, but we'll find out. But this idea, these characters humanize the Beast because they show that he has these relationships, that these servants probably raised him. That's the vibe you get, that they're like his family, you know, and they they fear him because he's their boss. There's the class disparity, but they fear him getting mad, not him like destroying them. Like he's like a petulant child in their lives, and they're trying to like get him to grow up, and they're not afraid to
and also break this curse that they're under.
This curse. Yeah. And they're not afraid to tell him no. I don't think they tell him no as strongly as Belle does. I think that's why she gets through to him. But they're trying, and he respects them. He has a level of like, these are people in my life that I value.
And I also think that he knows that they're all in this together.
And he's the problem.
Yeah, High School Musical. And
yeah, sorry I missed that.
It's fine, whatever. But no, so I think like that scene is also really key in that like this is a team effort to get out of this whole situation. And again, going back to like you saying like humanizing him, but like showing us that he's gonna try. He knows he needs to try, that he's not just gonna be a beast to be a beast. Like he knows he's not a beast, inside. He's not always a beast.
He wants to show his reflection to show who he is inside. And right now that shows a beast because that's what he is.
Yeah.
That might change.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Without those side characters, it would be much harder to care for him at all, because who would he have to play off to or talk to? Those characters are really pivotal.
We get his internal life.
Yeah, it externalizes his internal thoughts.
And it shows
through those characters.
It shows that they see that he's worth redeeming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That they see that there's potential in him.
And so we see that.
Yeah, because Belle doesn't see it until he shows it.
And in this one, we never see him as the pre-beast, being the nasty guy, really. I don't think at all you don't see that. So in the Christmas one, you do. That's probably the only positive other than Tim Curry, is that you see him, because he is kind of beast-like, and you would assume in his behavior towards, in his petulance, which I guess was then externalized when he became literally a beast. But I think you're totally right that those characters are, and that choice of showing his human side struggling to come out is a really important scene.
Yeah. Shout out to Linda and Howard.
For sure.
And so they're like this dysfunctional family, but when Cogsworth comes in and is like, she's refusing to come. She's in the process of not coming. He's like, what? And he loses it, and he's running, and he's raging at her. And he's beating at the door, and she's like, no, I'm not going. I'm not hungry.
He's like, fine, you get to starve.
And starve, yeah. And they're like, that didn't go well. And he looks in the mirror and is like, show me the girl. And the wardrobe's like, he's not so bad. And once you get to know him, she's like, I don't want to get to know him. I don't want to have anything to do with him. Like, she's like, he's gonna act like that? No. Not fair.
Yeah.
And so Lumiere, because she's not supposed to leave, but he's hooking up with Feather Duster. And Belle sneaks out, and she finds the kitchen where the grumpy oven that ex-Olaf is sad about his feast going to waste. And they're like, Mrs. Potts is like, guys, calm down. Like, she has been through a lot in one day. And then she's like, hey, and they're all happy to meet her. And Lumiere's like shaking his ass. And she's like, I am.
And that's called twerking, Cullen.
His golden ass.
His golden ass.
Golden ass.
And she's like, I am hungry. And he's like, let's put on a giant musical number about food where you never eat. And
now, where did all this food come from?
She tastes the gray stuff, and she tastes something else.
Yeah, and she was like,
do they have a garden? Are they slaughtering the turkey in the backyard?
Here's what I say. I think they get in that little carriage and they do like a 5 objects in a trench.
Do they all stand on top
thing.
of each other and wear a big trench coat?
They go to town and they're like, we need this much.
Look at my crown. Sorry, I'm really distracted by how adorable it looks.
Hannah, Cullen and I are coming up with a great scenario here. Yeah, I like that they're all
on
top of each other.
Cannons.
There's some villager at one of these the local villages that are just like, oh yeah, they're weird, but they They pay good money. They pay me in gold pieces. The inflation and the bread famine going on, I can't afford to
true.
ignore that.
The egg shortage.
The egg shortage? Some guy the next town over eats 2 dozen eggs every day. Gaston's Nepo baby.
Mm.
Yeah, he was in that article. So the number was actually written initially to be sung to Maurice. But
Oh,
then they were
interesting.
like, it needs to be sung to Belle.
Yeah, because she needs to be comforted and, welcomed.
And this is where the line, the 10 years, comes in.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's classic number. Afterwards, Cogsworth takes her on a tour of the castle because he wants her to go to bed. And she's like, well, I bet you know a lot about this castle. And as a former tour guide,
Listen, we love fun facts about the places that we are giving tours about.
Yeah, he's talking about the architecture. I think you're supposed to think it's boring, but I'm like, oh, I'm interested. I love French architecture. Tell me more.
I fucking love puns. He goes, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it. And I'm like, so good.
That's a good one.
And she is like, oh, what's over here? And they're like, oh, the West Wing. And she's like, so that's the West Wing. And this is where she breaks the prohibition, right? She goes to the West Wing. And she sees this trashed room. I feel like there's shit somewhere in there. Just saying.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Probably. Yeah.
Where is those facilities in this place, and who gets turned into the toilet?
Oh no! No,
Like,
no.
was there a castle
No.
plumber?
The chambermaid became a chamber pot.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, Beast, I love you, but you gotta go shit in the woods. That's for nature.
Please
That's
stop
for
shitting in my mouth.
That's for you and God alone to see and experience.
Well, we know, does a beast shit in the woods?
Yeah. Does anyone hear it?
I hate this conversation because that headcanon is, again, you know what? I didn't actually want answers. Yes, I did want to explore. I didn't want to explore this, though.
And so
Oh my God.
the room is trashed and she sees like his broken ass bed. And she sees the torn painting. Shout out to the Villeneuve version where she sees the painting.
Yeah.
But this Belle, I think her gears are turning a little more. She hasn't jumped to any conclusions, but she's like, what's going on? Like, did this beast move into this castle? Like, because she says, I've never been to an enchanted castle before. And they're like, who said anything about enchanted? And she's like, I put it together, you dumb clock face tongue bitch. Like,
yeah.
And so she sees the rose and she's gonna touch it, same.
Yeah, she literally is just like flop, pulls that thing off. She's like gonna grab it. I would not. I would instantly be like, interesting. I'm gonna go talk to the clock about that.
Yeah. And the beast is like, fuck. And he like puts it on and he looks at her and he's like, I told you never to come in here.
I always fast forward through this part, even now, because it scares me.
Really?
Yeah, this part as a kid, I would leave the room.
It did scare me as a kid.
I think it is.
Part.
He's pretty effective at. I mean, this movie is very effective at making him scary, and I think what's interesting is that like there are times when she is legitimately scared, but then there are times when she stands up to him.
There is an interesting balance between him, even his vocal performance.
Yeah.
When he's beast-like, and then when he's the prince-like. But that part always scared me. I went into the bathroom. Out, and no one got turned into a toilet here though, but that always scared me, that part.
Well, because he's screaming, and so this is like before he was just like yelling, and now he's clawing at things. He's like breaking furniture, and so she's like, "Stop! Like, calm down!" And she runs away, and he kind of realizes he's fucked up, and she's running away, and they're like, "Oh, you have to stay." She's like, "Promise or no promise, I can't stay here another minute," because she's like, I gave my word, but I didn't sign up to get attacked.
Yeah.
So she runs off and she's in the snowy woods. She's getting attacked by wolves. This scene, so thrilling. Such a good action sequence.
It is.
Fast, high stakes. And the beast swoops in, saves her, injured. And she's like, I can't just leave him out here to die.
Because she's about to get back on the horse and leave. And she's like, I'm a good person.
So she takes him and she's healing him, but she's having none of his shit because he's like, I told you not to go in the West Wing. And she's like, I wouldn't have run if you didn't scream at me. He's like, you weren't supposed to go in the West Wing. And she's like, you're supposed to control your temper. You need to control your temper.
This is the scene where she really asserts her position in a way in their relationship.
Yeah, she's like, you're not going to treat me like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're gonna hold still so I can heal your wound.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, but then she's like, thank you for saving my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and he softens. He's like,
yeah,
okay.
but she's not gonna be blamed for this.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And we love that about her. And
We
meanwhile,
love an assertive queen.
yeah, someday maybe she will be. So Gaston is plotting to put Maurice in the asylum, the second season of American Horror Story.
Which
I don't know what
think
he'll
is
do in
really
that
good.
plot. But he's gonna put her in there and force Belle to marry him to save her dad. Because she's like, I don't want my dad in a Ryan Murphy show.
Well, so this is,
I want him and Aaron Sorkin.
this part is, he's kind of setting up the same thing that the Beast has done.
Yeah.
Where like, but it is Belle's choice completely to make that decision. But Gaston is like, I'm going to basically
Force her hand.
Yeah.
And he also arranges it all. I think because people do make
Yes.
that comparison, but I think the key is the Beast starts that way and progresses, and Gaston very quickly devolves to this, and he's
Yes.
setting it up.
Yep.
That's his plan. And the Beast, even though he thinks she might break the spell, isn't like, come be my sex slave / maid, which is what Gaston basically thinks a wife is.
Yeah.
He says, just live here. Be my roommate.
Let's be friends.
Yeah.
Rent
prices.
Plates. Yeah, really. Egg shortage, rent prices, everything is connected when inflation is happening.
So she's back at the castle. She's playing in the snow with the cushion dog and the horse. And he's like, I'm wearing a shirt now and I'm in love.
That's the
crazy
first
things
sign.
happen when you put on a shirt.
Crazy things happen. That's a great advertisement for True Classic Teas or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I've never felt this way about anyone. What should I do? And Cogsworth iconically says, chocolates, candies, promises you don't intend to keep. And Lumiere is like, you have to do something special. And I know what she likes.
Like, no, you have to do something special.
Yeah. I feel like, so if you have Pepe
That's my Jerry Orbach as Lumiere impression. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's actually
no
really
comment.
good.
So I mean, did I try and talk like Lumiere in French class and it worked? Yes.
And what do you mean it worked?
That was the appropriate accent used to say it right.
Wow, this movie has been pivotal in your life.
It truly has.
He said it was his Bible.
So what's saying is promises you don't intend to keep.
He's bringing him to the gift.
Yeah, he's the gift. And there's something about Lumiere. Oh yeah, so if Pepe Le Pew is the origin point, he branches off, and he's like, one ends up with Lumiere, who's like a flirt and a rake, but like a nice guy, and then Gaston is another half of Pepe Le Pew, someone who doesn't take no for an answer.
Yeah, the rapey half.
The rapey half, yeah. The rapey mostly whole of Pepe.
Yeah, Pepe Le Pew's, it's unwatchable.
He's my least favorite Looney Tune. I think I'm gonna say, I've never thought about that, but I think I'm taking that stand right now. I'm sure there's some super racist one hidden somewhere, but of the main ones people know.
Gonzalez.
You know what?
Pretty bad. I don't remember the content, but he's a mouse with a bad Mexican accent.
Most as in I know two, a professor and my husband who have this relationship with Speedy Gonzalez where they're like, yeah, it's racist, but like he's ours in a way. Because someone said Speedy Gomez at some point about something, and Rafa was like, Speedy Gonzalez? How dare you? So yeah, Beast shows Belle the library as a surprise.
This is my favorite scene.
I want to emphasize this scene because he's so excited. He's like, this is gonna be so good. He's like, close your eyes. And he's like
So wait,
opening
does he know that she likes books?
Yeah, Lumiere told
so-
him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, this is a great, like, she loves books. I have all these books. And he like opens the windows and she's like feeling the light. It's so good. And then he opens it and it's playing the Tales All This Time music. And she's like looking around and she's like, this is so amazing. And he's like, it's yours. You can spend as much time here as you want, you know?
I want a library.
Yeah, look at all those books.
Maybe
I love
not
that.
big. I don't need anything that big, but I would like a library. That'd be cool.
No, I love that scene. All those
And
books.
then obviously time to read. Oh
Yeah.
God, maybe I do want to be Belle.
Yeah, she doesn't have to have a job. She just hangs out in this castle.
Oh God. Okay, this is my fantasy.
Yeah, no job, no rent. Someone else is paying those
All
egg
the
prices.
eggs I could ever want.
Yeah. There was a meme once about Ayn Rand reviewing children's movies, and she was like, she turns down a hardworking hunter in favor of a rich layabout. It's like, and she made the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're bonding. They share porridge. They don't. He doesn't drink water out of her hands, but
nor does she say, here, let me help you eat the porridge by putting it in her hands.
And saying, I like it. I like when you
lapping it up sensually.
But he can't eat with a fork, and he's gobbling. This is like me at a restaurant where someone wants me to use chopsticks, and she's like, the compromise. I'll hold the bowl and sip,
and we'll sip it. Yeah. Like soup.
I always wanted to do that with cream of wheat as a kid. I feel like I'm Belle.
It falls down your
Yep.
That's cute.
Still Belle. Now it's time for something there. It's this cute song that was put in because Human Again was not working. So they put in this cute song, and it's not about the objects, it's about Belle and the Beast falling in love.
Yeah.
I love the way she sings Alarming.
I love Chip being like, what is it? And I was like, it's sexual tension. Because it is.
It is.
It is.
They're feeding the birds together, and he's so gentle with them. They're having a snowball fight.
He becomes a Disney princess because the birds love him.
Yeah.
That's true.
She's like, you have to become one of, if you want to be my lover, you gotta get in my clique. And they have a snowball fight. Like, she throws a snowball at him, which shows how far this relationship has progressed.
She can do something that could be perceived as aggressive in a fun way, and not get mauled.
And that's
love.
That's love for you.
That's it. Anytime I go to Tickle Lyle, I pray that he doesn't maul me. Yeah.
I think it's
that's how I know we've really come that far.
That's true love, as like in the Pink song. But I think it's very key that he does not hit her in this snowball fight. He never actually. He tries.
He picks up. He gets a big snowball, but then
it falls on him. And it's very cute and fun. Let's revisit that next episode. But yeah, she sings.
That's okay.
She sings Alarming so well, because it was a note that Howard Ashman, he was like, thinks dry sand.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Barbara.
It's
alarming.
Yeah, he did it right.
How's it go? Sing the
yeah,
song.
Really. And a bit alarming, that kind of she sings it in a good because she was like, do I want to fuck this monster? So I'm a little alarmed with myself. And they added the song. Alarming. It is, but I get it. They added the song Human Again in the 2002 release. I remember my cousin being like, we have a brand new special edition Beauty and the Beast DVD featuring the brand new song Human Again, because she used to talk like a commercial when she was a kid.
Love it.
They put it back in the 2012 theatrical re-release. It was back in.
So is it its own animated sequence?
Yeah, they just put in the middle. It's not in Disney Plus, which I think is smart, and it has.
They edited back into the actual movie, but I didn't realize that was a replacement for the other song replaced that one.
Yeah. Interesting.
And they. Because it was tried to make sense of the timeline, the song Human Again, and it was not working. So they were like, and
Yeah,
they have
interesting.
and they also have a scene in that song where she's showing him how to read,
Yes.
which
I
Oh,
think it
is
spoils the rhythm though
it
of
spoils the
the movie.
rhythm. I think it works in the play or the stage musical. In the Linda Wilverton script, there was the scene where she's showing him how to read, and now some people are like, he's a prince, he would know how to read, so
Mm.
I don't know. But a beast being a beast can do things to you. You start shitting in your
exactly.
chambermaid, yeah.
Well, it looked like a chamber pot, okay? Once it started
so there's
talking,
like
we realized it was Giselle.
so there's like a chamber pot because not all the objects are people, and then
Oh
there's
no!
Giselle.
She's like, oh, it's me.
I'm so sorry, it's coming out already. Chip's like, what's going on? And they're like, no, take it away.
Oh my
There's
god.
something there that wasn't there before.
uh, they're like, does she need to go to a doctor? I don't know. The beast is getting ready. She getting showered and clean. They give him a bad haircut, but he fixes it up. And he's here to meet Belle in the ballroom. She's in her iconic gold dress. A top tier Disney princess dress. That's an S tier dress.
Yes, it is. It's very good.
Yeah, it's very good. And they're eating dinner. Angela Lansbury, Mrs. Potts, is singing Beauty and the Beast, Tales All This Time. And apparently they wanted to add another verse. And Howard Ashman was like, what else am I supposed to use? Yeast? Diane Weist? Like,
I would have loved Diane Weist in this song.
And so they're dancing, and because she's excited by the music, and there's all these great little details where she like puts his arm on her back, and she like
and he's panicking.
He's like, oh my gosh, and she's like putting her head on him, and the ballroom was CGI animated by Pixar.
Oh, very cool.
So you could say this is Pixar's first and best movie.
Wow.
Interesting.
I mean,
wow.
I love me some Monsters Inc. I love me some Incredibles. I'm not here to.
I mean, you sounded like you were here to.
I mean, some of them I could do without.
Wow.
They're making Toy Story 5.
No.
Yeah, I saw that
yesterday.
yesterday.
The fourth one.
I know the fourth one was like fine, but
it was okay.
But that's
Three made me cry.
I know.
That's it.
They should
That's
have
all we need.
They should have. Because they're making Frozen 3, and I'm like, we all knew that was going to happen. And it's this whole magical world. There's a lot you can do. And there's, they're making Zootopia 2, which, again, it's this whole world. Like, there's a lot, but like, Toy Story, we've really exhausted the toy thing to the point where it's like, is this going to be about landfills? Like, at a certain point, like, these immortal plastic beings that need our love and feel deep loss when we grow older. Like, it's just such a weird thing the more you think about it, that I'm like,
I think it's a great timeless idea that is encapsulated in those first three movies. Films.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then they're just like, cash.
Yeah.
Especially
because Woody is living. Oh, I don't want to spoil Toy Story 4, but
they wrap it up in a way that's
that has existential crises.
Yeah. It didn't make me laugh.
Yeah, a lot of people thought it was great, and I was like,
they wrap it up in a nice way, but they wrapped it up better in 3. They didn't need to ring that bell again.
Yeah, and they really took the only remaining.
Heard it here first, folks. Don't ring that bell again.
Don't ring that bell. They took the only.
It depends on how well you ring it, though.
Ring my bell.
Speaking of bell,
that's a disco song, Cullen.
Yes.
So you like one disco song?
I didn't say I hate all disco.
What disco do you hate? All the rest of it.
Most of it.
Most of it.
Oh, do you like disco?
I never really thought about it before. Like in music, I like disco movies. I like Skate Town, USA.
Okay.
With Scott Baio. That was a disco movie.
Yeah.
I don't like Scott Baio, but I liked Skate Town USA.
Okay. Okay.
That's an obscure movie. I made a great transition for Cullen to get back into there, and you
I
totally
know.
jumped on me,
I
Hannah.
know. I'm
know.
sorry. I know. I have to defend my love of disco music.
But
What disco do you like especially, Hannah? What disco songs?
I love BG. I love the Bee Gees, Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Oh, okay. Then I like them.
Yeah, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
How Deep Is Your Love? Is that the Bee Gees?
Exactly. It
Okay,
is. Yes.
I like
How
that.
deep is your love? Speaking
No,
of
please.
love.
Speaking of love, there was that movie Beauty and the Beast.
Yes. Sorry, I was using this as a chance to like, oh, I guess I'll respond to my text. So
Oh, Hannah, I can vamp a little more. Want us to vamp more while you finish your sentence?
Right.
My sister's saying that because is texting me about Frozen 3, and they're like, is Elsa a lesbian discourse? Is my Taylor Swift secretly queer discourse? And I'm like, they are the same. They're the same discourse. But you know what? Elsa is a lesbian, my fanfic.
Oh,
Yeah.
right on.
So yeah, romantic cue, and he's asking Belle, is she happy? Are you happy here with me? And she says yes, enthusiastically yes. But then she's like, but if only I could see my father. I really miss him. And he's like, oh, I have this mirror. Like, this is great. You'll go see your father. And this is the scene I played for y'all in my presentation, in my report. And she looks for her dad, and she's like, she sees him coughing in the woods because he's looking for her. And she's like, he's sick. He's all alone. Like, he could die. And the beast is like, Belle doesn't have to ask. The beast is like, you need to go to him.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what? And he's like, you're free. You're no longer my prisoner. And she's like, thank you for understanding how much he needs me.
He lets her go, no conditions.
Yeah, no, you need to come back
No,
in a
you
week
get a
or I'll
week.
die.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna starve myself because this bitch fairy won't let me actually kill myself. You know, it's literally like, go.
Yeah, it's love, you know. I'm not going to stand on a pedestal and say this is the most healthy relationship dynamic anyone could ever want. It is a fairy tale, and I think kids are smart enough to know that. I think kids are smart, but I do think I think in the conversation about really how we see relationships in movies, we tend to start at Disney, but we don't go to how that's reinforced in other movies. Be that represent realistic situations that people view as more real.
Yeah, I mean, I could think of a dozen rom-coms in which there's a toxic relationship, but we're supposed to be rooting for them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, yikes.
Yeah, and so I think it's always good to have that conversation. But so I'm not going to stand here and say this is a perfect relationship. I think this movie convinces me that these two people love each other. And at this point, the beast loves her and it's like, you need to go to your dad. Like, your dad's hurt. Like, you got to go. And she's like, thank you for understanding how much she needs me. And I get chills when I watch this scene, like literally goosebumps. And he's like, keep the mirror so you can always look back and remember. And she's not like, sure, yeah, no, you can have it. She's like, oh, yeah, she does want to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And Cogsworth are like, I knew it, we did it. And he's like, I let her go. And he's like, what? And he's like, I couldn't keep her. I love her. And the servants are like, he finally learned to love, but she has to love him in return.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't know that yet. She hasn't quite.
That's the challenging part.
The challenging part. You know, it's something I think about. Like, when did I know that I like loved my husband? And sometimes it takes like external factors and threats to just realize how much you love someone. You know. And sometimes it's small things, you know, it's different for everyone. But I love the drama, so.
So the bigger the external factor, the better.
The better. I swear I don't love the drama. It loves me. I don't know what the Catholic Church's beef with me is. So. Sorry, I need water. All right.
Thirsty.
Hashtag thirsty.
Hashtag thirsty for this beast.
Oh my.
Belle finds her dad pretty quick. She takes him home, and he's like, how did you escape? And she's like, he let me go. He's changed. Also, Chip is there. I think he's stowed away.
Yeah.
I think what's key about this is that she says he's changed, not I changed him. She has never had any desire to like, oh, I can fix him. And that's different in the sequels. I think that's the thing. But she is just like, oh, like he's acting better. Like he changed himself. You know?
And actually, that's good that they got rid of that part of her trying to teach him to read, because that is her trying to do that to him.
Yeah. It's very like in like Pride and Prejudice, because I think the Beauty and the Beast, I think Pride and Prejudice is a descendant of Beauty and the Beast because of the alliterative title. But the like she's not like sitting there like telling Mr. Darcy about like this is how you get over your issues. She calls him out on his bullshit and he adjusts his behavior. And that's what Belle does.
And she's also willing to adjust her own behavior, when she's drinking the soup and all that. Yeah. I was in a production of Pride and Prejudice. Did you know that?
I did.
I played young man number 2 at Party.
I remember that.
Oh, I do remember this. Yes.
My favorite character.
An iconic part.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did amazing.
And how you will adorn it, Miss Belinda. That was my line.
Woo! Excellent.
I'm there.
Excellent.
I'm in the theater. I'm in Regency, England. So I get the vibe that Belle would have just gone back when her dad got better. She'd have been like, "Mom, just go live in the castle and leave this."
Yeah, I don't want to hang out with these crappy townspeople.
And that would have been a good idea because,
like, shit, I'll bring my dad with me. He can go hang out and fiddle around with whatever inventions he has.
Mrs. Potts.
The space. He can fiddle around with Mrs. Potts.
Yeah, I always ship that. And so, Gaston shows up with the villagers. They're gonna take her father away. He was raving about a beast. There's a great meme where it's like he was raving about a beast here yesterday, and they like someone edits it so he's like raving with like glow sticks. And they're like, slow down, Maurice.
That's what Mrs. Potts said.
Whoa.
Oh my.
And so they're gonna take her dad away, and she's like, she sees the plan. She's like, I could maybe like help out, and she's like, you fucking cunt. Like, this may be the first time I've said that word, but it applies.
Well, it's Europe. It's okay.
Part of me wonders it'd be even funnier if we like bleeped it so we don't know what the word is.
Well, that's
my choice. I'll think about it. Think about how it'll play.
I have the bleep sound effect. Let me know.
Yeah. So she uses the mirror to be like, show me the beast. The beast is real. And instead of being like, the fuck magic is real, they're like, oh, that beast is scary. And she's like, who's really gentle and kind. He's my friend. And Gaston is like, she can't have guy friends.
He instantly becomes like an information misinformist on Facebook, and is like, it's gonna eat your children.
Because I think what he says, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you have feelings for this monster. And she replies, he's not the monster, Gaston. You are. In front of the whole town. Everyone's like, and so he's like,
okay, now I have to punish her.
Yeah, we need to kill this beast. And he easily rallies them. Like no one's kid has gone missing. This town has never been threatened by this beast, or that there's this castle nearby.
One could say they're being proactive based on this information, but I know better. Okay.
Yeah.
I have media literacy.
And so he's like, we got to kill the beast. This song is so good. It's it was hard to, when they were doing the Beauty and the Beast season of High School Musical, the musical, the series. It was weird when they did like a dance-off version of this. I was like, you could have skipped this one. But the mob song is so funny. Like, 50 Frenchmen can't be wrong. We don't like what we don't understand. In fact, it scares us. And this monster is mysterious, at least. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And you could describe how people in the 80s and 90s felt about the gays. So they're barging down the door with a phallic tree, and they're gonna kill. And so they trapped Belle and Maurice in the attic, but Chip uses the invention to cut it open and let them out. So they're on their way, and the beast is too sad and depressed to fight back. He's like, I'm just gonna be a beast forever. Might as well let them kill me. And I'm like, you have objects to protect.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because they come to him, they're like, you have to help, and he's like,
Let them come. He's in
Yeah.
his Arwen era.
Yes.
Though Arwen
And
did have
so-
hope, I will say.
Yeah. And then they're like, well, we have to fight back.
Yeah,
And so all
there's
the objects get together to fight back.
they start by looking like they're just sitting there, and you see a music box in there, and that music box was initially the Chip character. Like he was like, but he was like kind of like dopey, like he didn't talk. And then the actor who played Chip was so like charming. They're like, I think we can we don't need this music box.
We're gonna make Mrs. Possum a favorite child.
Yes. And so this is a great fight scene, iconic. It's so funny. And the energy, I just love the climax of this film. From the mob song to the end, it's like hitting.
Like a battering ram.
Like a battering ram, like a phallic battering ram.
What was the battering ram in Lord of the Rings movie? What's the name?
Grand.
Grand.
Like a grand, yeah.
Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande.
Did we make that joke?
No.
You had to have.
Damn it. Wish you were there, T.
I would have made it for you, Hannah.
Yeah, you would have. And we would have been like,
so the wardrobe fights by slamming into the marble floor and using gender confusion, putting people in bras.
I did notice that, yeah.
But what could just be a weird little gag is going to be, again, made so much more annoying in 2017. LeFou is trying to sexually harass that feather duster. He's like pulling her feathers. She's like, And so Lumiere lights him up, and he tries to melt Lumiere, and Gaston stabs him in the ass. Which LeFou, if he is gay, is a top, so he hates. That's my theory, but I think LeFou's straight. I'm going to say it.
Interesting.
So the objects are winning. One gets eaten by that creepy valet that's headcanoned in the chest.
yeah.
Mrs. Potts and her kids are burning people. Like, it's sorry.
With hot tea.
Hot
oh my
tea.
gosh.
You see when they're running,
They're
like
spilling that tea,
there's like animated, or not, it's like it's still in the background. Someone just like lying unconscious on the steps.
Yeah.
They're getting slaughtered. And Gaston is like kicking around the beast, being like, you're so too kind and gentle to fight back. The beast is just like kill me, like whatever. But Belle shows up and is like, Gaston, stop. And the beast is like, she came back. So now he's fighting. And Gaston is like, oh, fuck. I picked a fight with this huge beast. And now he's trying to use psychological warfare. Like, do you think she'd want someone like you when she could have someone like me? It's not working. The beast is like, yeah, she fucking hates someone
Gaston
like you.
Thinks that he has every inch of him covered in hair.
Yeah.
Little does he know, the beast.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, true. And
he's out haired.
I have more hair on my neck than Gaston, let's be honest. I gotta shave that fucking thing every day. Yeah, so the beast wins because Gaston he's strong enough to rip off gargoyles from the stone and swing them around, but he's not strong enough to beat the beast. And Gaston is begging for mercy, and he's like, please don't do anything. Another dozen eggs. He should have some protein powder maybe. And the beast makes the human choice. He's like, his eyes soften, and he's like, go, basically, like, get out of my house. Get out. You came to my house. You tried to trash it and kill me. Rude. I threw someone in a dungeon just for showing up, and they didn't even do all this. Get out. So Belle is up at the tower, and she's like, beast, because he does not have a name. And they realize that in this scene, and they're like, oh, well. So the name Adam is a non-canonical fanfic name. Did I use it in my fanfic where the beast was one of the main POV characters? Yes. I don't think I wrote the beast very well, to be honest, but he was named Adam. So yeah, the Belle calls for him. Beast goes to her. I love this. He's climbing up, and Gaston is this jealous little bitch. He's like, no. And so he stabs the beast, and then he falls off to his death.
Yeah.
He, like Psyche's sisters, he falls down the cliff to break his head on the rocks.
Yeah.
And Belle pulls the beast up. She's got great upper arm strength. Belle never misses a Pilates day.
Oh, that picking up the
And-
books, I think.
Yeah.
Carrying the books.
Oh yeah, that's a
Maybe.
good point.
Books are heavy. I was in
Yeah.
college. I carried those around.
I've moved quite a few times with all
Yeah.
of my books. They're very heavy.
This little bullfinchy number.
Solid goals.
Solid gold from an axe.
Hannah, do you still have your copy of 50 Shades Darker?
It was 50 Shades of Grey, I think.
No,
I had.
no.
You had the
No, it wasn't.
sequel.
You had
How
50
did I
Shades
have
Darker.
That's
both?
not the truth, Ellen.
That was a really, really good reference, Cullen. No, because I had the first one because that was the one that I had.
No, I
Yes.
distinctly remember quoting and reading from 50 Shades Darker. I distinctly
I did not
remember.
own it. I had the first one.
No.
Yes, because I didn't get through it because it sucked.
Your
Then,
inner
then,
goddess
Spoiler alert
wouldn't
for
let
that.
then
you.
someone must have brought it along because I know I read out of that book.
Maybe we were at a bookstore and we were
No.
like peering through
Oh,
it.
maybe.
And I think that's what it was. And I was like, here, I'm going to open a page and I want you
Well,
to
that's
read
the
this.
reason why
That's
I
what it
gave
was,
it to
I
them.
think. Yes, I
Oh,
think
like
that's
how
what it was.
they had Gilbert Godfrey reading 50 Shades.
Yeah,
of
they wanted the
Grey.
exact same thing out of me, and I was more than
Yeah.
happy to oblige.
So, meanwhile, in one of the greatest climaxes in cinema history, he's dying. It's raining, and he's like, "At least I got to see you one last time." And she's like, "We're together now. Everything's gonna be fine." And when he dies, she says, "I love you." The moment as that last petal falls, and the objects are like, "No."
Great.
But the
She could have
curse,
said it a little sooner. Oh, it's fine.
the curse is broken. We get fireworks, and instead of a 3-hour firework display, we get magical rain, fireworks. It looks so good. I love it. And it's this very kind of quasi-religious Renaissance painting thing where he's like resurrecting, transfiguring, transforming. It's such a good scene. And he turns into this very angelic looking Raphaelish prince. Reference to the artist, not my husband. And I know people don't like how he looks. I think he looks fine. He's just not the beast that we've grown to love over this movie.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
And he has long hair, and people struggle with that. I'm going to be honest.
Even now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like
In everyone's hearts, it's still 2005.
Doesn't Gaston have long hair?
It's like short.
There's a
yeah, but
ponytail.
do people
People
like
do.
Gaston?
People do say Gaston's kind of hot, and I'm like, ooh, no.
No.
Don't say that about one of the 4 straight
Actually,
Disney
though,
villains.
I will say that what is his name? Adam? Adam?
Yeah.
Whatever. He actually looks quite more like Avenant.
Yeah.
Like after the transformation. In the Jean Cocteau movie.
I love how he's in like his clothes are like bedraggled. This is just more dramatic and less ding 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 ding, everything's fine. It's like
Yeah,
like
there's
dramatic.
no tights.
Yeah,
Tights,
he's
thank
looking.
God.
I mean, his pants are pretty tight. Let's be real. I think those might qualify as tights. But he looks at his at least joggers. He looks at his hands and is like, and he's like, "It's me." And Belle's like, "Huh?"
Yeah,
And
she's
like, that was not my favorite
she's
song
like,
on the
she's
Lover
like,
album.
Yeah,
And
she's not. She's thinking. She's like, okay.
she's like feeling his hair, and she looks into the eyes, the blue eyes, and that's when she's like, "It is you." And they have what I think is Disney's top kiss. Lady and the Tramp are shaking, I know, but like where they slowly pull in, and it's like dramatic, and it literally sends off fireworks. That's a spark.
Listen, I like the Aladdin Jasmine kiss. Just recently.
Oh, when he like the carpet plops him
That's
up
a
a
good
bit.
one. Yeah, well, that one also. They're the one where they're on the carpet
At the end,
flying. Yeah,
that's a good one. Yeah, also S tier. Yeah, but they fireworks go off, and the castle gets a quick, faster than any HGTV show redecoration.
Well, the movie is getting close to 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's this goth castle becomes all baroque and golden. The
If it ain't Baroque, don't fix it.
And they're like, it's not Baroque. We need to fix it. Uh,
Exactly.
And the
The
servants
opposite.
turn to humans, and he's so excited for it too. He's like, "Oh, yeah, Lumiere, Mrs. Potts." He's like, they're all so happy, and they're like, "It's a miracle." And he picks her up and swoops her, and then that transitions to the ballroom scene where they kiss and they're dancing. And everyone's watching. This was in the script. The ending of the movie was them leaving to go on an adventure. But they were running low on time and budget, and so they recycled some Sleeping Beauty animation from the waltz at the end. And there's recovered, and you could really tell when you look at Adam or the prince in that scene because he looks just like Philip.
Yes, you're right. I did notice that actually from the last time. It's a lot. It doesn't even look like it looks like she's dancing with somebody else.
Yeah, and that, but we get. Are they gonna live happily ever after, Mama? And Maurice is like, I could be your new daddy. And
I always thought that too.
Yeah, I always ship them. And then
yeah, me too.
The Feather Dusters flirting with Lumiere, and he's fighting with Cogsworth, who's cock blocking him. I wish we saw the wardrobe.
Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah.
She would have been a busty plus size queen.
Yeah, she would like the dressmaker or something.
Yeah.
The tailor.
And reprise of Beauty and the Beast, stained glass window that has even the feather duster makes it in the stained glass window at the end. You can see her there. I'm like, good for her.
Good for Fifi.
She deserved it after everything she went through.
Yeah. After all those names we didn't give to her.
Yeah. And that's Beauty and the Beast. The best version, I'm gonna say. Spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably say that too.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of I mean, I guess the French one is good in its own way.
And there's another French one that came out, I think, in 2014 that we might
like
watch
a
at some
couple years
point.
Before the live remake of this one. Yeah, because I was supposed to text you about that. I was like, did you know about that? It's like, should
a live action one?
That one first.
Yeah.
Or an animated one.
No, it's a live action of I think it's a remake of the 1940 version.
It's very like epic and sweeping. Like there's a lot of I think there's like a lot of extra plot. I mean, maybe we get some of that weird fairy lore, who knows? But I appreciate that. I appreciate not trying to reinvent. If it ain't Baroque, don't fix it. That's our motto. That's how I feel about this movie.
And this is certainly the one that when people think of Beauty and the Beast, they don't really think of the other one. They think of this one.
Yeah.
Of the most iconic.
This music, we're going into the vibes and aesthetic. The music is so good. Oh, Hannah's making a face, but I love this score. I love the themes. I love that you hear new and a bit alarming. Like almost every time you see Belle, you hear that little.
Yeah, I think for me, it's because I couldn't sing along because I didn't know the music enough. I do like Beauty and the Beast. That's one I actually know most of the lyrics to. It just didn't strike me. I know. I don't know why. I know it's weird.
All these songs, they're S tier to me. I would say I would put Gaston and Be Our Guest as A's, but everything else S tier.
Interesting.
I think Beauty and the Beast is really good. And I also really like the song Belle. I think it's such a great intro song.
Yeah, I don't like that song. I know.
Maybe the song doesn't like you.
It probably doesn't because I'm a little weird.
Yeah, those townsfolk. The visuals too, they're very lush, and they have this kind of French painting element where they like pull very French colors and aesthetic without being too slavish to any like time period or style.
Yeah, no, it does. It kind of makes me appreciate this era of the animation because it's not perfect. Like you can kind of see when her face kind of gets a little weird when
there's shots too, back. Right? Yeah,
and so like it kind of makes me appreciate the hand drawnness, the imperfections that are there. But yeah, the visuals are really great. I do think the ballroom is very beautiful. That's why I chose it. Yeah, I also love the design of the characters too. This would be like Lumiere. I love Mrs. Potts. Mrs. Potts and Chip are perfect. The feather duster, very sexy.
Oh yeah.
The chamber pot, not so sexy.
She's been through a lot, okay.
Yeah.
She's going through a lot of shit.
She's been through some shit. She's seen some shit. Yeah.
So let's meet our characters. Let's meet Scott corrected me on this, and I think I agree with him. I think Belle is our protagonist. I used to say it was the Beast, but I think she has a very strong desire for something new. Start something new. It feels so right to be here with you.
High School Musical.
High School Musical. Do we root for her?
I'm waiting to hear what Hannah has to say.
What is her desire?
Adventure. And that's what she gets.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was the thing. It's like I don't quite know. Like she wants adventure. So is love the biggest adventure? So I'm getting into themes right now.
Yeah, I mean
that's the thing. Is like I don't really know what she wants, but I do root for her because I want her to get the fuck out of that town. That's for sure.
Well, because that's why I used to say, I think the Beast is the protagonist because he has a concrete want.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think at the start of the movie, we're like, that beast can stay a beast. I want Belle to be okay.
Yeah.
But does Belle really change though over the events of the story?
He does not.
Yeah.
But I don't think protagonists need to change.
No, I agree. But I think,
I think the stage play, because stage plays are a little longer, the musical tried to add more of an arc for her.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that works.
She's not mean. She's not she doesn't have like necessarily like specific flaws.
Well, her in the story, she is what aids the Beast's arc. Without Belle, so she incites the arc and changes in the others, specifically the Beast.
Yeah.
So it's not that she really needs an arc because she's so tied into, she's integral to his arc, which is the biggest one of the story. So you don't really need it, but she's important for that.
Which is, we've talked about in our Frozen episode, is a standard arc for Disney princesses up until almost halfway through the Renaissance. The Disney princess characters, they don't need to change. They're not characters with an arc that need to change, like Aladdin, right? Like he needs to change. But we talked about, like the format of a Disney princess movie is just, they're not the problem. Everyone else is the problem. And not everyone else, but like at least a few main characters. And they need to either change or be proven wrong. Like Cinderella is her worldview being proven right over the stepmother. Right. Same with Snow White. Little Mermaid is Ariel proving her father that she is, that like her point of view is of being more accepting and open is right. And even Frozen, which gives Anna that arc, ultimately ends with is about like Anna proving that her worldview of like being loving over being scared of everyone is better.
So we're saying that Belle's desire throughout this entire film, she wants more than this provincial life. She wants an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she gets an adventure by being a part of the Beast's
story
evolution. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's being the love interest from the love interest perspective.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think that's.
But yeah, sure, I root for her.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because in the Lindsay Ellis video, so I don't want to totally repeat, she says a thing with 90s Disney movies that is more worth, I guess we have to talk about Stockholm Syndrome. We'll talk about that in a moment. Deconstructing then Stockholm Syndrome is how the heroine always starts with a want that's generally pretty vague and it's always resolved with heterosexual love and marriage. And that's something she's like, I'm not saying it's like bad or, it's like that's something to think about, Yeah. Also, Belle's looks. Let's talk about her appearance. All her dresses are great. I think they're all cohesive.
Yeah.
She's a style queen. She's subtle. It's very French.
To be honest, I only remember the one that's behind you and the one that's behind me.
She has the pink cape one, her winter garb. She has the green one that she wears in the library scene.
Okay, I remember the green one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those two outfits alone make her a style queen.
Yeah.
The gold and the other one.
The yellow one is really, really beautiful.
The yellow one is so beautiful that they have trouble recreating it in live action. Not only in the Disney movie, but in the parks. I think the one they have in the parks now that she wears is good. But before it was not great.
Yeah. Interesting.
The Beast. How do you feel about him?
He's good. Yeah. I don't really have any qualms with him. Like, he obviously changes for the better.
Yeah.
And like, I understand his turmoil. Like, I empathize with that. Like, he got cursed, and that sucks. And that would make me angry too.
Because it's not like you need to grow and change. I'm gonna take away your money and like send you to like a public school. You know.
Yeah, this
it's
isn't
like
trading places. This is
this is a wife swap. Yeah.
this is literally like.
You need to learn to love and accept people, but I'm gonna make it so hard for anyone to love and accept you.
Yes. It's going to make you bitter to the world because the world is not going to accept
Well,
you.
because he judged the lady based on her appearance.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the reasons he turned her down?
Yeah.
Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
So it's one of those things like God's fairies, like their punishes they give maybe like have poetic justice, but they aren't necessarily like justice. They're not like how you would run a legal system.
Right.
Hopefully.
Thank God.
Yeah. But I do root for him because I think the thing is he wants to change. Even from the start of the movie, he does want to be better. He wants to grow and he works on it himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we ship Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah. I think so, because my issue with the 40s movie was that I was like, I don't think they like each other, or at least I don't think she likes him, and I don't know what he feels about her. But I think that like we get that here. We get them, bonding and hanging out.
Yeah, they have activities for them to do and plot events that allow them to bond. How do you feel, T?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that these two. I actually, when I watched it this other time, I thought, my memory of it was that they fell in love too quickly. But in this, I actually thought that the tempo of their falling in love, I believed, and as you said, I feel for the Beast, even when I'm walking out of the room because I'm afraid of him, and they definitely did a wonderful job with the Beast of balancing him as a scary figure and as a sympathetic figure. And I definitely ship them. That means I want them together, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's what that means. Yeah, you and your fun, cool terms.
Fun little lingo. I also think the Beast design is so good and very inspired by the 40s film.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, I really ship them. I love their relationship, and in that it's not like this perfect ideal real world relationship, but it's built in this like they respect and enjoy each other and enjoy spending time with each other.
Yeah.
I think that's key. Real quick, Stockholm Syndrome is a pseudoscience. Many psychologists and people who study this kind of thing don't really think it's real. It refers to extreme violence and hostage situations where someone will be completely isolated and experience extreme physical violence, followed by scraps of kindness to the point where they refuse help. This is not Belle's situation. Well, again, not ideal, especially by modern standards. She had freedom. It was made by a choice she agreed to, and she had other people to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And she was stood up to the Beast and was only nice to him when he was nice to her. So
I think also our idea of what we think of Stockholm Syndrome is that like, the people who've been captured fall in love with their captors, when it doesn't seem like that's necessarily the case.
Yeah, it was based around like bank hostages during like a bank robbery.
Mm-hmm.
In Stockholm.
Yeah, in Stockholm. Yeah.
So I think like we have a misunderstanding of what Stockholm Syndrome really is and how it develops.
Yeah.
That everyone was just like, this is clearly Stockholm Syndrome. It's like, no, this is just a crazy situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that being a hostage isn't a crazy situation, but it's different.
Yeah. This is France. That was Sweden.
Two different countries, if you can believe it.
Yeah. We got our other side characters. We got fun and goofy Maurice.
I love Maurice.
Yeah, he's just a little.
Yeah, he's a sweet old man. He's just making inventions.
You get the idea that Belle's been like protecting him in a way.
Mm-hmm.
We have Lumiere and Cogsworth. our great like comedic duo,
Yeah.
the French and the British. The French want to
Mm.
have fun, the British want to follow the rules. Iconic. And we have Mrs. Potts and Chip for like our warm, sweet.
We love them.
And we got a fun horse, we got a fun feather duster, and a fun wardrobe.
Very fun feather duster.
Very fun.
She's a fun-loving gal, that
fun-loving
Phoebe.
gal. And that wardrobe's having a great time.
Au contraire, mon frere.
Putting everyone in drag.
Yeah. And now let's talk about our antagonists. We got these shallow, basic townsfolk and their hero, Gaston. He's a great villain because he's both a foil and to the beast, but he's also a very realistic character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hear what Hannah's going to shit on about Gaston. Go ahead, Hannah.
I just, he's terrible, and I hate him.
As you
Aren't you
should.
supposed to hate him? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not like a Jafar, who's
effective.
also a creep, but he's like a Jafar's like a fun villain.
Yeah.
We're like a Maleficent, where it's like,
Yeah,
it's so fun how evil they are. It's like if someone's like, oh yeah, I love Gaston. It's like,
because Gaston's a little too real.
yes,
yeah,
at times.
Absolutely. Because that's the things like I hear the things he's saying, and it's like, well, that's just a meninist.
I don't think you could dress up as Gaston for Halloween as have as much fun as you could if you dress up as you're right, those other villains are more flamboyant in a way. But
do people dress up as like Belle and Gaston as like couples costumes? Oh god, I hope not.
I know people ship them.
It probably exists.
I think at Epcot sometimes Gaston meets with Belle.
Yeah.
In France?
Yeah, in France.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Gaston's a popular character. People love to meet him at the park.
Yeah.
He's a dick. Because he's a funny dick.
Yeah, in the parks he's much funnier than he is in the movie.
Yeah. He's accepted that he's not ending up with Belle, so he's just like, I'm here for a good time.
I'm just gonna live it. Yeah. Live it up.
And yeah, we have LeFou, a straight top idiot.
Dom.
Mask for mask, Dom LeFou.
Joker.
Themes. Beauty is within.
Love is the greatest adventure.
Love is the greatest adventure. Love takes time and patience. This is one where it's like showing people building mutual respect. Also respect women and their autonomy.
Yeah, I think especially if we're going off of like the desire, like Belle's desire, I feel like that theme has to be. Yeah.
Yeah, is that her desire is to be in a place where she's respected?
Oh, yeah.
Where, because people think she's weird, or at best, Gaston is the only person in town that likes her because he sees her as like a breeding machine, like someone who'd be fun to breed with.
Yeah, no one at the castle treats her. In fact, they're the only people who actually treat her nice, other than her father when she gets there.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, they want to spend time with her. They share her interests, especially the Beast.
Yeah. So I think maybe I have an issue with her song where she's like, I want adventure, and like that's just her saying what she wants. But I think you're right. I think she actually wants like friends and people who are nice to her.
I mean, the dialogue definitely supports.
Yeah,
that.
But then again, the song is also supposed to support that, and I think it's
correct.
little.
It is Belle. I think especially after you have an Ariel who's so explicit in what she wants.
Right.
Belle is a little vaguer. Yeah. Because it's a love story from the love interest point of view in a way, like how in mythology a lot of gods had female lovers, but you never heard a story from their perspective. It was never like, how does Europa feel about Zeus turning into a bull and kidnapping her? But like Cupid and Psyche, Cupid and Psyche was like, well, how does this girl feel about having sex with Cupid in the dark? She's like, you can turn the lights on. I don't care if you have a muffin top. It's fine. He's like, I
And
don't
he's
have a
like,
muffin
oh no,
top.
I'm ripped.
uh, yeah. So I guess that leads to, was that your fantasy?
T, you go first.
Of course, this is my fantasy because I have good taste. No, look, this is one of my favorite ones. Hearing what Hannah said, I actually hear her point. I understand her point, but this is another one where my nostalgia for this, like Cullen, I've seen this. I don't even remember the first time I saw it. I've always seen it. It's always been on. I love the animation. I love the songs, and I'm not a huge watcher of any other version of the Beauty and the Beast, so this is certainly my fantasy, and it's one of my favorites. But Cullen, what about you? I'm sure I know your answer.
Yeah, this is
If
my
it's not your fantasy,
fantasy.
why is this your Bible?
Yeah. I
I don't know.
love
Is the Bible your fantasy, Cullen?
No, this
parts
Bible.
parts, but this one, yes. This
Okay.
I love a drama. I love romantic adventure. I love love. I love love overcoming magical curses. And yeah, it's just this like it's a so well done fairy tale. And I think sometimes with certain fairy tales, what attracts me to them is so all the ways to retell them. And the thing about Beauty and the Beast is I feel like this is like this perfect encapsulation of the story. And whereas I might want to retell like a Cupid and Psyche, I never ever feel much of a desire to retell Beauty and the Beast and Beauty and the Beast alone, like not in conversation with other fairy tales, because I think this movie just does it so well.
Which is
Right.
definitely why when they did the remake, it was a weird one to remake when you're remaking something that's worked so well.
Yeah.
You
Well,
should
I
pick.
mean, Disney has been remaking live action versions of movies that are fine and then making them worse.
Right. Well, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
This was, I think,
So-
the first one that was like, because before, I guess it was like Jungle Book, Maleficent, Cinderella, like older movies were being remade.
Yeah,
Right.
And
that's
this
a
was
good
like
point.
a movie that was made within many people's living memory.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie is not my fantasy just because
We support all choices.
right after he boos me. I think for me, I don't love the music. I don't love the story. And I think it's just because I also, again, I think it's because I didn't grow up with it. I didn't develop that sort of like pure love for it. I've only really watched it as an adult, and I'm just like, it doesn't appeal to me. Sorry.
Well, maybe you're obviously more objective about it than Cullen and I can be.
Yeah, that's
So,
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, and I think I do have some issues with like the writing, specifically about like Belle's. Like, I think it's definitely interesting because I never really thought about it as it's the love interest perspective. But I do think like it could be a stronger end for me. Also, I've never been made fun of by the entire townsfolk, so I can't really empathize with that.
Like I can't help that I'm popular.
Yeah, it's definitely it. Yeah, no, I don't know what it is. I think it's just that it's not one that I want to go back to. And I don't have problems with the fact that it's like, oh, it's a toxic relationship. It's like, yeah, everyone's gonna say that. That's not my big hang up. Just it does not strike my fancy. But like you guys said, the animation I think is really great. And I respect the version of the story that it becomes, because yeah, I would never want to watch an animated or live action version of the Villeneuve story or the Beaumont story. You know, and Cupid and Psyche would really have to be tight for me to want to see that. So that's why I'm looking forward to your version, Cullen.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'll try. Do my best for you. To make you proud of your boy. Shout out to Aladdin. What did we learn today?
Oh God. I mean, I learned a lot about the Cupid and Psyche story that I did not know. I
Yeah,
knew
me
very
too.
little about that. I think for me, the big thing that I've taken away from this is that perspective that you've given me, is that like this is a love story from the love interest perspective. Typically, the Beast would have been the protagonist in the center of the story, mostly also because he has that big change. His desire is to change back. Yeah, I think that's the big thing I'm taking away from this. I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, and I didn't know all these antecedents to the B story. So, what was the tidbit that you said to me, Colin, before? Remember, I said tidbit. You had a fun. I learned a couple of fun facts about the
The
movie that I
human,
did.
the big, becoming, what was it
Human
called?
again?
Human again.
Yeah, maybe that.
That
But
was a replacement
yeah, that was
for.
interesting too.
That's something there replaced that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So a lot of interesting tidbits about the movie.
that this was written by a woman. Didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I know, because people when they want to do the Stockholm Syndrome thing, they're basically like, this is the patriarchy, and there's obviously the patriarchy is present in this movie, as it is in all media that we consume because it's omnipresent. But I'm like, the two main creative forces behind. I mean, yes, there were two directors, but there's the lyrics and the script were written by a woman and a gay man.
Mm-hmm.
So there's already some. You can read a lot of media. You can read in two ways. You can read this in a very pro-establishment way or a very anti-establishment way.
Yeah.
And you both should definitely watch that documentary about Howard
Yeah.
Ashman. That might
You
give
said it's
you
on Disney Plus.
It was, I think, specifically for Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's one where they don't go to the cutaways to like people who are being interviewed. They just use the audio of them, so it's always footage of Howard Ashman as a young boy. It was by Don Hahn, who I guess produced Beauty and the Beast,
Yeah.
right? He directed, and that it was similar to one that they did called Waking Sleeping Beauty, which
I
was
have that on
another
DVD.
yeah, that it's the same kind of style as that one, and it's definitely worth checking out.
Okay.
So smash that like button.
Oh, are we doing social media now?
Yeah.
All right. T, where can we find this obscure podcast you're on called Obscure Obsessions?
Let me make sure I'm saying the right thing.
At Obscure Podcast, right?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Hannah. You can find our show that I host with my cousin Nicholas or
Oh,
Nick.
you got shit on by a bird that you're
Yeah.
before.
We're on Instagram at Obscure Podcast. And at the top of our page, you can find our blog, obscureobsessionsblog.blogspot.com, which I post from time to time when I can't sleep at night, which is almost every night. And we have, as I said, our season 3 is coming out by the summer. We have 2 full seasons out already. And every other week for the next 3-4 months, we have a mini 20-minute episode where if you're looking to expand your viewing habits and you want some underrated and obscure films, little known films, well, we're going to be recommending them to you.
Can you give us a taste? What's one that you guys have coming up or have?
What did we recommend? I don't even remember.
Sorry, I've forgotten.
Because we have them all done. This week, that's up right now. We don't know what we're going to recommend before we recommend to the other, but we've spent a sickly amount of time together growing up, so we have a kind of Tia and Tamara thing. You know, Tia and Tamara, they were the Twitches, sister.
Yep,
this week, Nicholas recommended a movie called Wild America, which starred a young Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and it was about it was a story of 3 brothers as they travel America filming a wildlife documentary. It was a comedy. It's hard to find that one. You have to go and really dig for that one. But the one I recommended this week was a Disney movie, actually, called The Journey of Natty Gann, which is about a girl in 1933 who hitchhikes across the country and she befriends a wolf. And they go on this journey to find her father, who's gone off to cut down trees in Washington State. And it's a fairly good movie for what it is.
Very interesting.
And it's worth watching.
Those are truly deep cuts. Yeah.
Right. We didn't know that. So
Wow, hive mind. You really are Tia and Tamara. Okay, who's Tia? Who's Tamara?
Well, I'm Tia. And then we have a few other ones that are very obscure. So it's for people who, are tired of watching the same thing over and over again. And most of the ones we recommend are available that you can check them out. And then we talk about them and we goof on them and we argue about, we don't actually argue. I usually talk and he listens, which is the reason why Hannah and I could never get along.
Yeah, because I
Just-
never shut up.
Yeah, it's just the problem.
I always have to talk back. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's a funny
Like
thing about
Belle.
you. I love when I would make a point and Hannah would think I wasn't right immediately.
Well, yeah. Duh.
But those are the mini obsessions. So we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, and I'm sure we're probably on Twitter and other places, but I don't go on those. So
It's valid.
our main one is the Instagram page, and we have a whole bunch of episodes to tickle your fancy.
Oh, like the feather duster.
Mm.
So you can follow Not My Fantasy Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. We are at Not My Fantasy Pod. And if you're on YouTube, hello, hi. Hit that like button and hit the bell and leave us a
Smash the
comment.
bell notification.
Leave us a comment and like the video. Let us know what you loved. Let us know what's a good question. What is another object in the castle that a person changed into, and who was that person? What was their role in the castle?
I
So we
love
talked about the
that.
chambermaid having probably the worst job. It's a shit life. And yeah, so let us know about that. And then, it doesn't matter where you're listening or watching, head over to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, leave us a little comment. And yeah, just, hit us up on the social medias, if you have any questions or anything you want to add about the movie.
Yeah, follow us there on all the platforms, Instagram, TikTok, all that.
Yeah.
Tune in next time. We will be talking about
Oh boy.
the most offensive film of 2017. Sorry to show my hand if I haven't been doing that all episode. The live action remake of Beauty and the Beast, starring Emma Watson and Dan Stevens.
Who?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's what.
You want to hear my favorite? You want to hear my favorite Dan Stevens joke?
Sure, I don't know. I didn't know those existed.
Wait, make sure I tell it right. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Who's there?
Dan Stevens.
Dan
Dan
Stevens.
Stevens who?
Exactly.
Ah!
Hey, I'll feel really bad if this person has like a really storied career. Or maybe I won't because they were in the 2017
I think he mostly was a Broadway actor, wasn't he?
He was in. Most people know him from Downton Abbey.
Oh, Downtown Abbey.
Yeah, he was the cousin that they marry, I think.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Anyway,
right.
so that's next week.
And
and
We
thank
have
you
a very
guys for
special
having me.
guest.
And thank you guys for having me on. By the way, I want to make sure I thank you guys.
Of course, thank you so much for coming
Thank you for
on.
being here. We
This is
always
so
love
much
having
fun.
you.
Yeah,
We can't
whatever.
wait to have you back in, I don't know, maybe a couple more months.
Can you pick something that we can agree on next time? Can we
I'll look
pick
at the list
something?
and I will find something.
Send me a list and I'll tell you which one I agree with you on.
Okay. He's trying to get an EP credit here on our podcast. I'll be the judge of that. Okay. Or maybe this whole journey that we're going to go on, having you repeat guest star on the podcast, is us trying to find something we agree on.
You should have a
Ooh.
pool, like a betting pool of, how long will it take before you and I agree on something? Because so
Season
far,
5.
yeah, so far we're 2-0.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
Who knows? Who's to say? Yeah, next time we have a special guest that some Glee Booties may be familiar with.
Should be familiar with.
Definitely, if you're a Glee Booty, you will definitely be familiar with this person. And catch ya then.
Bye.
Did the Castle Courtesan become a dildo?
That's what I was thinking.